Chapter 1677. The Thunder Spirit King was different from the Divine Firmament King. The Divine Firmament King had to obey Ling Zhao's orders because of the red dragon mark between his brows. However, the Thunder Spirit King was completely under Ling Zhao's control. He even left a trace of his true spirit in the wordless book. Even if the Thunder Spirit King became a sage one day, he would not betray Ling Zhao. Thus, letting the Thunder Spirit King become the cyclic sky seal's artifact spirit was the best choice. Ling Zhao did not choose to leave immediately. Instead, he cultivated in seclusion in the river of forgetfulness. The red spider lilies contain the power of the Death Tao origin. However, this world was only the internal space of the cyclic sky seal. The heavenly Tao laws were not complete. It was basically impossible to attain the Tao and become a sage and condense a Tao fruit here. However, Ling Zhao could possess the combat strength of a sage like the 9 titled skeleton kings. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The vast power of reincarnation rose from the river of forgetfulness. Ling Zhao sat cross-legged in the river of forgetfulness. Mysterious auras intertwined around him, forming mysterious halos behind him. Life, death, withering, and glory. A mysterious concept was emitted from his body. Ling Zhao's aura became more and more terrifying. It had far exceeded the power of the 9-star purple gold skeleton kings. It became more and more unfathomable. Damn it! That Long Outyan dared to snatch my hurricane lily. He really deserves to die. However, the Divine Firmament King has already chased him into the river of forgetfulness. He will not be able to escape from the Divine Firmament King. He will definitely die. Without the Hurricane Lily, with my current strength, there is no way I can open the core area. In the majestic and ancient palace, Zhan Tianxing sat on a huge throne. His eyes were filled with indignation and anger. He had painstakingly planned to obtain the Hurricane Lily and then open the core area to find a way to control the cyclic sky seal. However, now that he had lost the Hurricane Lily, everything was for naught. Whether it was Ling Zhao or the Divine Firmament King who had obtained the Hurricane Lily, it was not good news to him. Zhan Tianxing indeed had the bloodline of the battle tribe. The drop of rainbow blood in his heart was the bloodline of the battle tribe. Zhan Tianxing had learned about the secret of the flipping sky seal from his inherited memories. Especially after coming to this world, he understood the mystery and power of the flipping sky seal even more. The heaven flipping seal was not as simple as a holy treasure. Zhan Tianxing wanted to revive the war race and even take revenge on the culprit who had caused the war race's destruction. He had to get the sky flipping seal. The red spider lily has already been lost. The 9 great kings were fighting their own battles, and it was impossible for them to work together to open the core area. Right now, the only thing we can do is to sacrifice the 7 of them. Then, we will exhaust our battle clan bloodline and see if we can open that place. Zhan Tianxing thought to himself with a deep gaze. Fortunately, during the chaotic battle at the Wangchuan River, his 7 subordinates had caught Gung Long and Gung Hu when the people of Fengshui Village, Panga Village, and Tomb King Village were unprepared. Now, apart from Ling Zhao, 7 of the 9 great inheritors had been captured by Zhan Tianxing. There's no time to lose. We need to act quickly. Zhan Tianxing thought to himself as a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Taishao's sacred mountain. The mountain was tens of thousands of feet tall and connected the heavens and the earth. Its aura was majestic and unparalleled, and it was filled with a thick aura of death. It was the cave abode of the Taishao King, one of the 9 great titled skeleton kings. A huge palace was built at the top of Taishao's sacred mountain. The guards outside the palace were all purple gold skeleton kings. Each of them was hundreds of feet tall and had an extremely powerful aura. Their bones were sparkling and radiant, and they exuded a monstrous aura of death. Powerful skeleton race elites were everywhere on Taishao's sacred mountain. The black iron skeletons, bronze skeletons, and silver skeletons were not qualified to set foot on Taishao's sacred mountain. They could only wander around. The gold skeletons and platinum skeletons were just small soldiers guarding Taishao's sacred mountain. Only the purple gold skeleton kings were considered generals. The Taishao King had been in seclusion for many years, and his subordinates were still guarding outside loyally. The entire Taishao sacred mountain was heavily guarded, and no one dared to barge in. Is this Taishao sacred mountain? It is indeed extraordinary. Ling Xiao and the Divine Firmament King stood together in the clouds, looking at the majestic Taishao sacred mountain in front of them. That's right. This is the Grand Firmament Sacred Mountain. The Grand Firmament King has been in seclusion for many years. Even the appearance of the red spider lily did not make him come out. Master, this time, we will pretend to be here for a visit. Follow me, and we will catch the Grand Firmament King by surprise. The Divine Firmament King said with a hint of excitement in his eyes. The 9 titled skeleton kings guarded the world of death, but it could be said that they did not trust each other. Moreover, they all wanted to devour each other and become the only ruler of this world. It was only because the 9 of them were equally powerful that no one could do anything about it. That was why they had maintained this state for so many years. Alright, I'll leave it to you, Ling Xiao said calmly. The aura around him became faint, and his bones still emitted a purple light. However, the star between his eyebrows had become a single star. The sky-shrouding secret technique perfectly concealed Ling Xiao's aura. Even the Divine Firmament King could not sense Ling Xiao's true cultivation level and strength. Brother Taishao, the Divine Firmament King is here. Are you still planning to stay in seclusion? The Divine Firmament King's figure appeared in the sky above Taishao Sacred Mountain. His voice exploded like thunder, causing all the skeleton race experts on Taishao Sacred Mountain to tremble involuntarily. They immediately stared at the Divine Firmament King with great vigilance. Rumble. However, when the Divine Firmament King exuded a vast and unparalleled aura as if he was an invincible king, even the purple gold skeleton king could not help but tremble. It was so frightened that it knelt down. They all knew that one of the 9 greatest rulers of this world had arrived. On Taishao Sacred Mountain, all the skeleton race experts knelt down. This was the suppression of the skeleton race's level. Even the purple gold skeleton king was trembling all over at this moment, exuding waves of fear. Ling Xiao followed behind the Divine Firmament King with a strange look in his eyes. Fortunately, he was a successor and a human, so the so-called level suppression of the skeleton race did not have much effect on him. Otherwise, he would probably be forced to kneel down and submit to the Divine Firmament King without even fighting him. Rumble. On Taishao's sacred mountain, the huge palace suddenly opened, and a middle-aged man in a yellow Taoist robe walked out. He looked tall and handsome, and a mysterious light flickered in his eyes. It was like the black-yellow chi, mysterious and unfathomable. This was the Divine Firmament King. He cultivated the black-yellow sacred path? Looks like it's really one of the 9 peerless sacred techniques of the War God Temple. Chapter 1678. So it's Brother Divine Firmament. I heard that you went to the River of Forgetfulness to fight for the Hurricane Lily. What brings you to my Grand Firmament Sacred Mountain? The Grand Firmament King smiled faintly as a strange light flashed in his eyes. I came to the Grand Firmament Sacred Mountain because I have something to discuss with Brother Divine Firmament. This time, I did not manage to obtain the Hurricane Lily in the River of Forgetfulness. It was taken by an inheritor. The Divine Firmament King stared at the Grand Firmament King as he spoke slowly. What? An inheritor? What's going on? The Grand Firmament King's expression became serious, and he could not hide the shock in his eyes. It's a long story, but our great calamity is coming. The Divine Firmament King laughed bitterly. Then, he landed on the peak of the Grand Firmament Sacred Mountain with the Divine Firmament King. Ling Xiao followed behind the Divine Firmament King. However, he had used the sky-shrouding secret technique, so he was only a 1-star purple gold skeleton king. Even his aura as an inheritor had been concealed, so the Divine Firmament King only looked at him in confusion. What is the great calamity? Brother Divine Firmament, please enlighten me. The Grand Firmament King was indeed attracted by the Divine Firmament King's words. Buzz. The dragon-shaped mark on the Grand Firmament King's forehead emitted a bright light. It was mysterious and unfathomable, causing the Grand Firmament King's expression to change drastically as if he had seen a ghost. "You're right. This time, I met an inheritor in the river of forgetfulness. He took the hurricane lily because he is not an ordinary inheritor. He is a true disciple of a great heavenly venerate. In other words, he is our young master. I managed to escape from him with great difficulty, so I immediately rushed to the Grand Firmament's sacred mountain to discuss this matter with you." The Divine Firmament King said solemnly, "A true disciple of a great heavenly venerate? How is this possible? The great heavenly venerate has been missing for millions of years. Over the years, countless inheritors have been wiped out by us. How could a young master appear at this time? Brother Divine Firmament, how strong is that inheritor? Why don't we gather the 9 of you and kill him together?" The Grand Firmament King's eyes revealed a cold killing intent. "That young master's strength is extremely terrifying. I'm not his match. Most importantly, he can control our Scarlet Dragon mark. Although our strength has greatly improved and we can temporarily suppress the Scarlet Dragon mark, when we face that young master, we will inevitably be greatly restrained. We must think of a foolproof plan." The Divine Firmament King said seriously, "What foolproof plan? Fellow Taoist Divine Firmament, you are the oldest and most knowledgeable. We will listen to you." The Great Firmament King said fearfully. When he mentioned the young master, his mind was in a mess. "I killed a successor and obtained a treasure from him. Perhaps it can help us kill that young master. Take a look." The Divine Firmament King smiled. His palm glowed brightly, and an ancient stone tablet floated in the air, exuding an ancient, profound, and mysterious aura. "What treasure is this?" High Firmament King's eyes were attracted to the stone tablet. He reached out his hand to touch it. Rumble. But at that moment, the stone tablet suddenly trembled and emitted a vast chaotic light. At an extremely fast speed, it directly smashed into the Great Firmament King's body. The Great Firmament King's body was covered in a vast yellow light that contained an unparalleled defensive power. When he sensed danger, he instantly activated it. "Divine Firmament, what are you trying to do?" The Great Firmament King was shocked and angry as he immediately roared. But the Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablet was too fast, and it was very close to the Great Firmament King. It directly smashed into his body and shattered the yellow light on his body. Then, the Great Firmament King was smashed to the ground. Buzz. The Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablet instantly split into 9. The 9 Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablets intertwined with each other, forming a mysterious and vast array formation that enveloped the Great Firmament King. Rumble. The Divine Firmament King's eyes flashed. He grabbed the ancient purple sword, and lightning crackled around him. Without a word, he launched a thunderous attack toward the Great Firmament King. At the same time, Ling Xiao also made his move. The Chaotic 8 Styles was completely activated by Ling Xiao, and his strength exploded 16 times. Ling Xiao's body exuded a destructive aura as he directly smashed a chaotic fist toward the Great Firmament King. The two of them attacked as fast as lightning, and they were extremely well coordinated. At that moment, the Great Firmament King was smashed to the ground by the Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablet. The Heavenly Tao Chaotic barrier on his body was broken, and he was trapped by the Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablet. Under the joint attack of Ling Xiao and the Divine Firmament King, he instantly fell into a disadvantageous position. Boom! Dazzling lightning flashed, and a thick yellow saber appeared in the Great Firmament King's palm. It suddenly collided with the ancient sword in the Divine Firmament King's hand, and at the same time, it released a dazzling divine light. Ling Xiao's fist enveloped the Great Firmament King, and he had no way to block it. He could only use his physical body to withstand it. Crack! A crisp sound rang out as Ling Xiao's fist landed on the Great Firmament King's chest. Instantly his chest caved in, and his flesh and blood exploded, forming a huge bloody hole. After refining the Hurricane Lily, Ling Xiao's terrifying strength was comparable to the 9 titled Skeleton Kings. At that moment, he used the Chaotic 8 Styles, which pursued the ultimate physical strength, and was incomparably terrifying. Even the Great Firmament King was unable to withstand it. You You are that so-called young master? Fellow divine firmament, you actually submitted to him? Ha ha. I really didn't expect it. The great firmament king laughed in anger and roared. Great firmament, submit. As long as you submit to master, master will spare your life. Otherwise, if you continue to resist, only death awaits you. The divine firmament king said coldly, but his attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. The reason why he and Ling Xiao had chosen to attack the Great Firmament King first was that the Great Firmament King had the strongest defense among the 9 titled skeleton kings. However, his battle prowess was also the weakest. Furthermore, he had a good relationship with the Divine Firmament King, so he could lower his guard to the greatest extent. Therefore, they used the power of the Heavenly Tao Chaotic Tablet to launch a surprise attack on the Great Firmament King. The Divine Firmament King and Ling Xiao followed closely behind, instantly causing the Great Firmament King to be severely injured. Don't even think about it. I won't submit to anyone. The Great Firmament King roared. You don't know what's good for you. Killing intent flashed in the Divine Firmament King's eyes as he activated his terrifying sage aura. Bolts of lightning intertwined, causing the ancient purple sword in his hand to become even sharper as he continuously attacked the Great Firmament King. Rumble. At that moment, a mysterious and vast aura was emitted from Ling Xiao's body. He had activated the 4th style of the heaven-defying art. In an instant, 3,000 worlds appeared behind him, as if there was a cycle of life and death. An indeterminate aura was released, enveloping the Great Firmament King. Chapter 1679. It was a crimson divine dragon. It looked lifelike and exuded a powerful dragon's might. A powerful dragon's roar rang out, forming a powerful sealing force that lingered between the Grand Firmament King's eyebrows and extended into his body. The vitality and death aura in his body began to boil violently, becoming extremely chaotic as if his entire body was about to explode. The Grand Firmament King's expression changed drastically, and a trace of unconcealable fear appeared in his eyes. Originally, the Grand Firmament King could seal the red dragon mark with his strength. However, after being severely injured by Ling Xiao and the Divine Firmament King, Ling Xiao used the 4th move of the fate-reversing art. The Grand Firmament King could no longer seal the red dragon mark and was directly controlled by Ling Xiao. The Grand Firmament King could feel that the red dragon mark had been completely activated. If Ling Xiao wanted to kill him, it would only take an instant. I am willing to submit. The Grand Firmament King's eyes were filled with unwillingness, but in the face of the threat of death, he finally chose to submit. Wouldn't it have been better if you had submitted earlier? Then you wouldn't have had to suffer so much. The Divine Firmament King sneered. Buzz. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as he activated the fate-reversing art. A vast amount of energy directly merged with the red dragon mark. After the red dragon mark was completely activated, the Grand Firmament King could no longer seal it. His life and death were completely in Ling Xiao's hands. Of the 9 titled skeleton kings, Ling Xiao had already subdued the Divine Firmament King and the Grand Firmament King. Congratulations, young master. Congratulations, young master. The 9 titled skeleton kings will fight their own battles. As long as the news is not leaked, we can defeat them one by one and subdue them all. The Divine Firmament King and the Grand Firmament King knelt before Ling Xiao and flattered him. Let's go. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of anticipation. Only by gathering the power of the 9 titled skeleton kings could they open the fate-reversing palace. Even the 9 titled skeleton kings did not know where the fate-reversing palace was. They only knew that it was the center of this world and also the core of the cyclic sky seal. The 3rd place was the Azure Firmament King of the Azure Firmament Sacred Mountain. With the Divine Firmament King and the Grand Firmament King, as well as Ling Xiao, the 3 of them subdued the Azure Firmament King without any effort. Next was the Jade Heaven King. When they were at Jade Firmament Sacred Mountain, there was an accident. They did not expect King Jing Xiao to be there. Although Ling Xiao and the others tried their best to capture King Jing Xiao, King Jing Xiao escaped from Jade Firmament Sacred Mountain in desperation. The news was still exposed. The last 5 kings, Bright Sky King, Crimson Sky King, Jade Sky King, Clear Sky King, and Purple Sky King were all completely shocked. They never thought that 4 of the 9 kings would be captured without anyone noticing. In the end, the 5 great kings gathered on top of the Violet Firmament Sacred Mountain. Countless cultivators of the Skeleton Clan gathered together and prepared to fight Ling Xiao and the 4 great kings to the death. Man proposes, God disposes. I didn't think that the news would still leak out. Young master, what should we do next? The Divine Firmament King said helplessly. Let's go back to Feng Shui village first. A divine light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he said indifferently. Since the news had already been leaked, Ling Xiao wasn't worried about anything. At most, he would just kill all 5 kings in one fell swoop. After going through a few battles, Ling Xiao didn't care about the remaining 5 kings. However, before the final battle, he still had to make some preparations. When he returned to Feng Shui village, Li Qingyun, Pang Gufeng, and Mu Yuanxing had already gathered the experts of the 3 clans in Feng Shui village. The elites of the 3 clans were all extremely excited and exuded a strong fighting spirit. The news that Ling Xiao had subdued the 4 great kings shocked the entire world of death. Naturally, Li Qingyun and the others also knew about it. Little friend Long, I really didn't expect you to subdue the 4 great kings. It seems that you are the destined master of the flipping sky seal. Li Qingyun sighed softly. Although they had a certain degree of hope for Ling Xiao before, they did not expect Ling Xiao to be able to snatch the red spider lilies from the river of forgetfulness and subdue the Divine Firmament King, Grand Firmament King, Azure Firmament King, and Jade Firmament King in such a short time. When the news came, they were all in disbelief. It was only when Ling Xiao stood in front of them with the 4 great kings that they felt as if they were in a dream. That's right. Little friend Long, we also heard that the remaining 5 great kings have gathered at the Purple Firmament Sacred Mountain and are preparing to resist. We have all decided to go to the Purple Firmament Sacred Mountain with you and capture all the 5 great kings. Pang Gufeng also laughed out loud. Many thanks to the 3 elders. This time, I also want to ask the 3 elders to lend me a hand. As for the remaining 5 kings, they can't die. As long as I can severely injure them, I will be able to subdue them all. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. I'm afraid it won't be an easy task to severely injure all of them. It's not enough to rely on just us, but we can borrow the power of the formation. Li Qingyun pondered for a moment and said slowly, the power of the formation? Elder Li, are you talking about the 5 elements Yin-Yang Divine Dragon formation? Ling Xiao asked. The 5 elements Yin-Yang Divine Dragon formation was indeed extraordinary. If they set up the 5 elements Yin-Yang Divine Dragon formation, they should be able to gain the upper hand. Not the 5 elements Yin-Yang Divine Dragon formation. Although the 5 elements Yin-Yang Divine Dragon formation can increase our strength, it is limited. I have the 6 paths of reincarnation formation that was passed down by Second Holy Master. It needs 6 people to set up the formation, and it can burst out dozens or even hundreds of times the strength. Not to mention severely injuring the 5 kings, even killing them wouldn't be a difficult task. Li Qingyun said confidently. Second Holy Master passed it down? Isn't that the artifact spirit of the flipping sky seal? Very good. Elder Li will teach us how to practice the 6 paths of reincarnation formation, and then we will fight the 5 great kings to death. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered slightly as he nodded. The 6 paths of reincarnation formation contain the power of reincarnation. As long as a living being entered the formation, their vitality would be devoured and they would fall into reincarnation, sinking into it forever. The 6 paths of reincarnation formation required 7 people to set it up. 6 of them would each control a formation, and the 7th person would be the core of the formation. In the end, it was decided that Li Qingyun would be in charge of the core, and Pang Gufeng, Mu Yuanxing, Divine Firmament King, Great Firmament King, Green Firmament King, and Jade Firmament King would each control a formation to set up the 6 paths of reincarnation formation. Ling Xiao would wait for an opportunity to subdue the 5 great kings. Everyone was talented. Although the 6 paths of reincarnation grand formation was incomparably profound, under the control of Li Qingyun, each of them only mastered one formation. Therefore, they were able to adapt to each other very quickly. In just 1 month, they had already mastered the 6 paths of reincarnation grand formation to the mastery level. Chapter 1680. Damn it! Long Outyin didn't die and even subdued the 4 great kings? No, I have to speed up. In a mysterious valley filled with clouds and dazzling light, Zhan Tianxing stood in the valley with a gloomy expression. He had been here for a month. In front of him was a dazzling door of light. However, there were 9 rays of starlight on it, which converged to form an incomparably mysterious seal. Zhan Tianxing knew that behind the light gate was the core of the flipping sky seal. Originally, he planned to take his time to break the seal, but the news that came gave him a sense of urgency. He had to hurry. Damn it! I have the bloodline of the war tribe. The flipping sky seal is the treasure of the war tribe. Why are you taking all the opportunities and benefits? Long Outyin, after I control the flipping sky seal, I'll make you beg for death. I'll let you become the weapon spirit of the flipping sky seal. Zhan Tianxing's eyes revealed a trace of cold murderous intent. He continued to break the seal in front of him. Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain. This was a mountain shrouded in purple clouds. It was majestic and vast, emitting rays of blazing lightning. It was like the might of the heavens, making one's scalp tingle. On the Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain, there were powerful experts of the skeleton tribe everywhere. Golden skeletons, platinum skeletons, and purple gold skeleton kings were densely packed. There were thousands of them, and all of them looked alert and cold. They were the subordinates of the 5 great kings. At this time, they were all gathered on the Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain, waiting for Ling Xiao and the rest to arrive. After all, this world of death wasn't big. They couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Therefore, the 5 great kings joined forces. They believed that Ling Xiao would definitely come for them. Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain. Are they already waiting for us here? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with divine light. The purple divine light was like a sword, piercing the sky. He led the 4 great kings, Li Qingyun, Pang Gufeng, and Mu Yuanxing to the Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain. Standing in the sky, Ling Xiao could see the majestic aura of the Purple Firmament's Sacred Mountain ahead. There was a purple palace at the top of the mountain, shrouded in lightning, majestic and mysterious. 5 terrifying auras were emitted from the palace. They were like resplendent suns, as if they could sweep away everything. Master, the 5 of them are stubbornly resisting. They will definitely die. Master, please sit back and watch us capture all of them for you. The Divine Firmament King and the other 3 laughed. Their eyes were filled with confidence. During this period of time, they had been constantly studying the 6 paths of reincarnation formation, so they were full of confidence in the power of the formation. Now that they had arrived at the Purple Heaven's Sacred Mountain, they could not wait to rush up and kill. Rumble! The arrival of Ling Xiao and the others alarmed the 5 kings of Violet Firmament's Sacred Mountain. Terrifying auras rose, and in an instant, 5 powerful figures rushed out from the palace, floating above the Purple Heaven's Sacred Mountain. Their auras intertwined, and their eyes were extremely cold, filled with monstrous killing intent. King Bright Firmament, King Crimson Firmament, King Jade Firmament, King Cheong Firmament, and King Purple Firmament. The 5 of them had terrifying auras, and their auras were monstrous. Their bodies were surrounded by majestic vitality and death aura. Their eyes were extremely cold as they stared at Ling Xiao and the others, filled with bone-deep hatred. Divine Firmament King, you dare to side with the inheritor? We are ashamed to be in the same team as you. King Purple Firmament stood out and stared coldly at the Divine Firmament King and the others. He wore a purple robe, python boots, and a purple gold crown. He looked like a crown of jade, majestic and mysterious. His aura was also the strongest among the 5 kings. The 5 kings regarded him as their leader. The Divine Firmament King sneered and said, "Brother Purple Firmament, I think you have forgotten your identity, right? We are all subordinates of the Great Heavenly Venerate. Now that the great heavenly venerate's personal disciple has arrived, he is our young master. What's wrong with us submitting to the young master? On the other hand, not only are you not submitting, but you are also stubbornly resisting. Do you really want to die? That's right. Brother Purple Firmament, quickly submit to the young master. Otherwise, when we fight later, don't blame us for not showing mercy. The great Firmament King also looked like a loyal lackey as he shouted at the Purple Firmament King. "Pa, what a joke! We are not anyone's slaves, nor are we anyone's subordinates. The great heavenly venerate and second heavenly venerate have been dead for millions of years. We are the rulers of this world. You are willing to be others' slaves, but I am not. Let's cut the crap and see who's the real deal." The Purple Firmament King was so angry that he laughed. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. "Purple Firmament King, if you submit now, I can let bygones be bygones." Ling Xiao looked indifferently at the Purple Firmament King. "Submit to you? Who do you think you are? Fellow cultivators, follow me and kill him." The Purple Firmament King said coldly. His voice contained a monstrous killing intent. In an instant, he rushed over with a purple gold battle spear in his hand and shot it at Ling Xiao. Kill. Behind the Purple Firmament King, the Bright Firmament King, the Crimson Firmament King, the Jade Firmament King, and the Jade Firmament King also began to attack. Their auras were terrifying and monstrous as they charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. Their eyes were very sharp. They could see that the biggest threat was Ling Xiao. As long as they killed Ling Xiao, the Divine Firmament King and the others might betray them. The key to this battle was Ling Xiao. "Protect the young master!" The Divine Firmament King roared. In an instant, the purple ancient sword, surrounded by blazing lightning, flew toward the purple gold battle spear. Rumble! Dazzling divine light bloomed. The Divine Firmament King and the Purple Firmament King trembled and could not help but retreat at the same time. Swoosh! 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 At that moment, the Divine Firmament King, Green Firmament King, Jade Firmament King, Li Qingyun, Pangu Feng, and Mu Yuanxing also soared into the sky at the same time. Their speed was extremely fast. They did not directly face the 5 great kings. Instead, they surrounded them in the center. Dazzling divine light bloomed, and divine chains of order traversed the sky. Behind the 6 of them, there seemed to be a mysterious illusory world. Their auras intertwined with each other, and there was a strange fluctuation of life, death, and reincarnation. This is an array formation? Oh no, let's rush out. The Purple Firmament King's expression changed slightly as he felt the terrifying power contained in the array formation. He could not help but roar. But it was too late. The Divine Firmament King and the others had been practicing for nearly a month. The 6 paths of reincarnation array was all for today's capture and killing of the 5 great kings. How could they let them escape so easily? Rumble! The blazing divine light was incomparably terrifying, and the divine chains of order enveloped the 5 of them. They intertwined with each other as if forming a huge net that reached the sky. And in the void, 6 mysterious illusory worlds appeared, containing terrifying energy fluctuations. They pressed down on the 5 great kings, layer upon layer. It was as if there was an endless space that was firmly bound within, and there was no way for them to escape. Roar! Chapter 1681. Follow me. Let's kill these rotten bones. Pangai, Pangyuan, and the rest laughed coldly. Terrifying blood chi surged from their bodies as they led the experts from the 3 races towards the skeleton race. Previously, the experts of the 3 clans had been restraining themselves and rarely engaged in large-scale conflicts with the experts of the skeleton clan. However, now that they had unleashed their full power, they erupted with the most terrifying fighting spirit. One of them could fight against 10 or even 100 of them, and they killed the experts of the skeleton clan one after another. An intense battle broke out on the Purple Firmament's sacred mountain. However, the focus of this battle was still on the sky. Only the victory of the 5 kings would determine the outcome of this battle. Although the 5 kings were trapped in the 6 paths of reincarnation array, their strength was extremely terrifying. Every one of them had the combat strength of a sage. Although they couldn't escape the control of the 6 paths of reincarnation array, they didn't suffer any serious injuries. Rumble. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply as the heavenly Tao primal chaos tablet rose into the sky and expanded rapidly. In an instant, it was tens of thousands of feet long. It was like an immemorial divine mountain that was lifted up by Ling Zhao and pressed down on the 5 kings. Damn it! Purple Firmament King's face changed. He could feel the threat of the heavenly Tao primal chaos tablet and didn't dare to be careless. Instantly, the purple gold divine spear in his hand rose into the sky and exploded with a terrifying sage aura, piercing towards the heavenly Tao primal chaos tablet. Kacha! Dazzling divine light exploded as the heavenly Tao primal chaos tablet pressed down. The purple gold divine spear trembled violently and bent down as if it could break apart at any time. Boom! At this moment, Ling Zhao punched out, the chaotic 8 styles exploded. The 16 times strength turned into a chaotic fist mark and slammed into Purple Firmament King's body. Purple Firmament King's body trembled violently as the chaotic light on his body exploded. He couldn't help but stagger as the purple gold divine spear buzzed and flew out. The heavenly Tao primal chaos tablet pressed down on Purple Firmament King's body as if a million mountains were pressing down on him. Purple Firmament King's body trembled violently as he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! Purple Firmament King was about to go crazy as his eyes were filled with killing intent. He was trapped in the 6 paths of reincarnation array and could only take Ling Zhao's attack head-on. Kill! Divine Firmament King and the kings were all energized as they frantically activated the 6 paths of reincarnation array. Reincarnation energy of life and death, reincarnation energy of reincarnation. On the other hand, Ling Zhao wielded the Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablet and used the power of the chaotic 8 stances. He was constantly depleting the terrifying origin energy around him as he launched terrifying attacks towards the 5 kings. But Ling Zhao knew that his body in this world was between illusion and reality. Therefore, he didn't care if it would exhaust his body's origin energy. He continued to use the 8 paths of reincarnation array to attack the kings. Soon, the kings were at a disadvantage as they were heavily injured by the 6 paths of reincarnation array and Ling Zhao. Their auras became weaker and weaker. Rumble. Ling Zhao's body emitted a blazing divine light as a mysterious aura spread out from his limbs and bones. He directly activated the 4th move of the life-reversing art, the power of reincarnation reverse. Behind Ling Zhao, it was as if 3,000 worlds had appeared. Rays of divine light covered the sky as they merged into the kings' bodies. 5 dragon roars rang out, shaking the heavens. They contained an incomparably terrifying dragon might, and the 5 great kings could not help but reveal a look of fear in their eyes. The scarlet dragon marks that they had originally sealed had all been revealed at this moment. The crimson dragon marks shone brightly as if they were alive. They were like a crimson divine dragon that moved slowly. With the 4th move of the life-reversing art, it was as if the power within was activated. It directly connected with the primordial spirits, physical bodies, and fate of the kings. Ling Zhao stood in the air as a mysterious aura spread out from his body. 3,000 worlds circled around him as if he was an invincible emperor who controlled all life. Although Purple Cloud King and the other 4 were filled with unwillingness, they could not help but kneel down in front of Ling Zhao at this moment, deeply submitting to him. Their crimson dragon marks were completely controlled by Ling Zhao at this moment. Their lives were in Ling Zhao's hands. Submit or die, Ling Zhao said calmly. His voice was like thunder, shaking the world. We are willing to submit. The Purple Cloud King and the other kings were terrified. They could hear the murderous intent in Ling Zhao's voice. It was as if they would be killed immediately if they didn't submit. Very good, Ling Zhao said calmly. The murderous intent in his eyes gradually disappeared, becoming more and more unfathomable. If it weren't for the fact that he needed the power of the 9 kings to open the life-reversing palace, Ling Zhao wouldn't have spared their lives. However, sparing their lives was only temporary. The 9 titled skeleton kings were like snakes and rats, unruly and unruly. Ling Xiao didn't trust them at all. He had already decided to let the Thunder Spirit King become the artifact spirit of the flipping sky seal. Hence, the only outcome for the 9 titled skeleton kings was to become the Thunder Spirit King's nourishment. Master, we can open the life-reversing palace now. As long as Master devours all 8 of them, I will definitely become the artifact spirit of the flipping sky seal and help Master control the flipping sky seal. The Divine Cloud King transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao excitedly. His voice was filled with eagerness and anticipation. That's right. Let's open the life-reversing palace now. As long as you can open the life-reversing palace, you will have made a great contribution. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Master, don't worry. I swear to follow Master until death. I will be loyal and will never betray you. The Divine Cloud King hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed to Ling Xiao to show his loyalty. However, there was an obscure cold glint in his lowered eyes. As long as he could devour the other 8 titled skeleton kings, his strength would skyrocket. He might even be able to prove his Tao and become a true sage. At that time, what would a mere crimson dragon mark amount to? As for the so-called young master, it was up to him whether he wanted to kill him or not. The Divine Cloud King had already started to daydream. Master, this guy is getting more and more dishonest. The Thunder Spirit King laughed. He naturally saw through the Divine Cloud King's scheme. He is still useful. After opening the life-reversing palace, he will be useless. Chapter 1682. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as a dazzling divine light burst forth. 9 stars appeared in the sky, and a chaotic fog spread out. It was as if an ancient and huge bronze temple had appeared in the sky. That bronze temple exuded an eternal aura. The walls were mottled, revealing the vicissitudes of time. Chaotic aura spread out, making it look ethereal and mysterious. Above the bronze temple, 3 resplendent words lit up. Fate-reversing palace. Ha! The fate-reversing palace is finally open. I, Zhan Tianxing, am the master of the heaven-flipping seal. Zhan Tianxing's eyes were filled with madness as he laughed loudly. Geng Long, Geng Hu, and the other 8 inheritors were tied to the 8 stone pillars beside him. Their bones were all shattered, and the stars on their foreheads intertwined, exuding a vast power. It was as if they were supporting the opening of the bronze temple. The 8 of them were on the verge of death. It was as if all their life force had been extracted. They were only 1 step away from death. Zhan Tianxing did not obtain the Hurricane Lily, so in order to open the fate-reversing palace, he did not hesitate to extract the inheritance marks of Geng Long, Geng Hu, and the other inheritors. He sacrificed them and used the power of the God of War bloodline to open the core area at great cost. Zhan Tianxing's body flashed, and he instantly flew toward the fate-reversing palace. At the same time, the terrifying aura of the bronze temple enveloped the entire world of death. At that moment, it was as if everyone looked up and saw the ancient bronze temple in the sky. Oh no! Master, the fate-reversing palace has been opened. But how is this possible? The Divine Firmament King trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. At that moment, the 9 kings were all stunned. They simply couldn't believe what they were seeing. This was the fate-reversing palace. In the past, only the first Empyrean and second Empyrean could open it. However, ever since the first Empyrean and second Empyrean disappeared, the power of the 9 kings had to be gathered to open the fate-reversing palace. However, the 9 kings were still here, and the fate-reversing palace had already been opened. Zhan Tianxing. A sharp glint flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes as a name appeared in his mind. Zhan Tianxing possessed the bloodline of the war tribe, and his methods were extremely strange. Other than Zhan Tianxing, Ling Xiao could not think of anyone else who could open the fate-reversing palace. Little friend Long, we must hurry to the fate-reversing palace immediately. If the core of the fate-reversing palace is controlled by someone, then our life and death will be in the hands of that person. Li Qingyun, Pangufeng, and Muyuansheng also spoke with solemn gazes. "Let's go," Ling Xiao said coldly. He leaped up and flew towards the fate-reversing palace in the sky like a bolt of purple lightning. Bush, bush, bush. The divine firmament king and the other kings, as well as Li Qingyun and the other experts of the three races, also leaped up and followed closely behind Ling Xiao, charging into the fate-reversing palace. The gate of the fate-reversing palace was already open. Dazzling light gushed out from within, containing a vast aura of the saintly way. Ling Xiao led everyone into the fate-reversing palace in a grandiose manner. "Long Outyin, you're late." As soon as Ling Xiao entered the fate-reversing palace, he heard a mocking voice. Boom! A small black seal floated in the middle of the fate-reversing palace, exuding an ancient and mysterious aura. At that moment, Zhan Tianxing was standing beside the small black seal. His aura had already intertwined with the small black seal, as if he had completely refined it. The array core of the flipping sky seal? Ling Zhao's heart sank slightly as he spoke slowly. The small black seal was thick and ancient. Ling Xiao could sense at a glance that this small black seal was the array core of the flipping sky seal. Smart. Zhan Tianxing smiled faintly. Rumble. The runes in his palm were dazzling. The small black seal buzzed and the fate-reversing palace trembled. The surrounding void vibrated and the two ancient gates closed instantly. The array runes in the surroundings appeared and a cold, murderous intent locked onto Ling Xiao and the others. In the face of the cold, murderous intent, even the 9 great kings changed their expressions. They felt a fatal threat from the array core of the fate-reversing palace. Zhan Tianxing stood in the middle of the fate-reversing palace, holding the array core of the flipping sky seal. He looked like a peerless celestial emperor who controlled the life and death of all living beings. He stared coldly at Ling Xiao and said, "Long Outyin, I have refined the array core of the flipping sky seal. From now on, I will be the true owner of the flipping sky seal. Do you want to live or die?" Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he said flatly, "So what if I want to live? So what if I want to die?" He instinctively felt that something was wrong. It was too easy for Zhan Tianxing to refine the array core of the flipping sky seal. If it was that easy, the 9 great kings would have thought of a way to open the fate-reversing palace and refine the array core of the flipping sky seal. The most important thing was that the existence of the 9 titled skeleton kings had its own meaning. If they could open the flipping sky seal and control the core of the formation of the flipping sky seal, it would be meaningless for the Scarlet Dragon War God and the device spirit of the flipping sky seal to leave the 9 titled skeleton kings behind. Ling Xiao kept thinking that there must be something that he had overlooked. "Long Outyin, if you want to live, kneel down and kowtow to apologize. If you want to die, I can fulfill your wish right now." Zhan Tianxing smiled coldly and there was a trace of cold, murderous intent in his eyes. Speaking of which, he had suffered many losses in the hands of Ling Xiao. Whether it was being schemed against by Ling Xiao in the mythical space or being robbed of the red spider lilies in the river of forgetfulness, Zhan Tianxing was extremely angry and hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. Therefore, Zhan Tianxing would not let go of the opportunity to humiliate Ling Xiao. Zhan Tianxing even began to imagine Ling Xiao kneeling in front of him and crying bitterly, begging for his forgiveness. Kowtow to apologize? You think you're worthy? Zhan Tianxing, do you really think that you have control of the flipping sky seal? Ling Xiao suddenly smiled coldly. You don't know what's good for you. You should be able to sense whether I have control of the flipping sky seal or not. As long as I activate the array in the fate-reversing palace, all of you will definitely die. Long Outyin, I think you want to do this the hard way. Zhan Tianxing's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. Ignorant. If you have control of the flipping sky seal, why are you still in the inner world of the flipping sky seal? You would have returned to the sect long ago, right? The so-called control of the flipping sky seal is just an illusion. This is not the array core of the flipping sky seal. This is only the array core of the fate-reversing palace. I dare to bet that you have not completely refined it. Chapter 1683. Just as he finished speaking, Zhang Tianxing's expression changed slightly. Long Outyen, I advise you not to test my patience. This is the core of the flipping sky seal. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Zhang Tianxing said coldly with a hint of madness in his eyes. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as the rainbow blood bead on Zhang Tianxing's chest shone brightly. In an instant, the small black seal in his hand began to spin. The fate-reversing palace began to tremble slightly. In an instant, divine chains of order swept across the sky, suppressing Ling Xiao and the others. The divine chains of order contained a power that could penetrate everything, causing the 9 kings, Li Qingyun, Pang Gufeng, and Mu Yuanxing to feel their scalps go numb. Their eyes were filled with incomparably solemn expressions. Boom! However, at this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly leaped up. Mysterious light bloomed around his body. Behind him, chaotic fog filled the air. The vast 3,000 worlds appeared, and a mysterious aura of life and death enveloped the entire fate-reversing palace. Ling Xiao slapped his palm toward Zhang Tianxing. To be exact, he slapped toward the small black seal in Zhang Tianxing's hand. Kacha! Runes rose from Ling Xiao's palm. The 3,000 worlds seemed to be annihilated at this moment, turning into a vast force of reincarnation. The small black seal in Zhang Tianxing's palm suddenly began to tremble. It emitted waves of agitation and instantly devoured the vast force of reincarnation. The small black seal trembled slightly and wanted to fly toward Ling Xiao. What? Zhang Tianxing's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He frantically moved the rainbow blood bead in his chest, trying to control the small black seal. Buzz! The small black seal trembled in the void. It circled between Ling Xiao and Zhang Tianxing as if it was struggling. In the fate-reversing palace, the power of the array that had been awakened gradually dissipated. The divine chains of order broke inch by inch and then disappeared into the fate-reversing palace. What's going on? The 9 great kings were all stunned, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. They had never entered the fate-reversing palace before, so they did not know what was inside. Initially, when Zhang Tianxing controlled the small black seal, it was as if he controlled the array core of the flipping sky seal. They had even begun to feel despair. But unexpectedly, the situation was reversed in the blink of an eye. So that's what little friend Long meant. Zhang Tianxing did not manage to refine the black seal completely. Our little friend Long seems to have mastered a secret technique that allows him to control the power of the black seal. They are now fighting for control of the black seal. Li Qingyun's eyes lit up as if he had discovered something. If that's the case, little friend Long still has a good chance of seizing control of the black seal. Why don't we attack together and kill this Zhang Tianxing? A trace of killing intent flashed in Pangafeng's eyes as he said slowly. The 9 kings were also tempted, especially the divine firmament king. He looked at Zhang Tianxing with a malicious gaze. Damn it! How can he control the core of the cyclic sky seal? Zhang Tianxing could not believe it, and his eyes were filled with coldness. He did not manage to refine the black seal completely. Without the power of the 9 kings, Zhang Tianxing would not have been able to refine the black seal. Instead, he had used the bloodline of the war tribe to forcefully refine it. He had managed to refine 90% of the black seal. It was just that Zhang Tianxing could not refine the last 10% no matter what. But now, Long Outyen had used a secret technique that he did not know of to refine the last 10%. The two of them were in a stalemate. And Ling Zhao's inspiration came from the fate-reversing palace. The core of the cyclic sky seal was the fate-reversing palace. This was not a random name. Ling Xiao immediately thought of the fate-reversing technique. Perhaps the fate-reversing technique was the key to controlling the cyclic sky seal. Therefore, he did not hesitate to use the fate-reversing technique. He had gambled on Zhang Tianxing not being able to control the black seal completely. He had won the bet. Ling Xiao also realized that Zhang Tianxing was able to control the black seal because he had ignited the power of the war tribe bloodline. As Ling Xiao used the fate-reversing technique, the black seal seemed to want to fly towards him. However, it was firmly controlled by Zhang Tianxing's bloodline. Rumble! Pang Gofeng and Mu Yuanqing exchanged glances and instantly charged towards Zhang Tianxing. They could also see the stalemate between Ling Xiao and Zhang Tianxing. Perhaps if they killed Zhang Tianxing, Ling Xiao would be able to completely refine the core of the cyclic sky seal. However, Zhang Tianxing's body glowed with resplendent light. Runes bloomed one after another, forming a vast and mysterious boundary. Pang Gofeng and Mu Yuanqing's attacks didn't even leave a mark on it. Don't waste your energy. Zhang Tianxing now has partial control over it. I'm afraid none of yous can hurt him. Li Qingyun said slowly. Let's attack together and help Master. At that moment, the Divine Firmament King's eyes flashed. Terrifying energy erupted from his body and surged towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. The 9 kings all understood the Divine Firmament King's intention. They activated their energy at the same time, turning it into beams of dazzling divine light that poured into Ling Xiao's body. The energy of the 9 kings intertwined and formed a perfect balance in Ling Xiao's body. A faint chaotic glow spread out and surged towards the Black Seal. Ling Xiao had only relied on the fate-reversing technique to control 10% of the Black Seal. Now that the energy of the 9 kings surged over, Ling Xiao was like a tiger that had grown wings. He continuously eroded the Black Seal. 20%, 30%, 40%. Seeing the changes in the Black Seal, Zhang Tianxing's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with unwillingness as he roared. No! He had been so close to completely controlling the cyclic sky seal, but he had not expected Ling Xiao to turn the tables at the crucial moment. Ling Xiao had slowly taken control of the core of the array. Zhang Tianxing was about to go crazy, but there was nothing he could do. Rumble. The power of the 9 kings fused together, forming the complete Great Tao of Death. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, the mysterious Great Tao immortal flower bloomed, and a mysterious Tao fruit seemed to emerge from the void of chaos. The Tao fruit represented the true meaning of the Great Tao and contained the origin of the Great Tao. Forming the Tao fruit also meant that one had broken through to the Sage realm. Chapter 1684. The red spider lily contained the origin of the Great Tao of Death, but with Ling Xiao's cultivation base and realm, he shouldn't have been able to comprehend the Great Tao of Death so quickly. However, the 9 kings had been constantly comprehending the Great Tao of Death for 1,000,000 years, and had even gone from death to life. Their comprehension had reached the pinnacle, and now their power poured into Ling Xiao's body at the same time, helping him comprehend the Great Tao of Death to perfection and condense the Tao of Death fruit. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and a terrifying power erupted from Ling Xiao's body. His originally purple bones were now filled with boundless vitality, and in an instant his entire body was wrapped up. Flesh and blood gradually grew, and Ling Xiao's body exuded a vitality as vigorous as the sea. It was as if he had been resurrected from the dead, and his aura became even more terrifying. Bolts of lightning bloomed, and a mysterious Tao voice sang in the void. Ling Xiao had gone from death to life, and the flesh and blood all over his body were condensed, exuding a wave of power that shook heaven and earth. The black Tao of Death floated above his head, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled around him. Light blazed, and his aura instantly suppressed everything, causing the entire fate-reversing palace to resonate with him. This is the Saint Realm? Little friend Long has actually proven his Tao and become a saint with the Great Tao of Death? Li Qingyun, Pang Gofeng, and Mu Yuanqing were all dumbfounded, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They never thought that Ling Xiao would prove his Tao and become a saint in front of them. That was a supreme saint who had enlightened all living beings, dominated the world, and controlled the Great Tao's origin. How could he have achieved it so easily? Everyone's heart was filled with a surreal feeling. At this moment, the 9 kings were all complaining incessantly, and there was even a trace of fear in their eyes. They could feel that as Ling Xiao condensed the Tao of Death, the energy in their bodies was flowing uncontrollably into Ling Xiao's body. There was no way to stop it, and in the blink of an eye, the power they had accumulated over 1,000,000 years was completely devoured by Ling Xiao. Buzz. At this moment, the small black seal trembled slightly, and in an instant, an unparalleled divine power surged in, expelling Zhang Tianxing's will, and Ling Xiao refined the small black seal in an instant. There was a blazing sound of thunder, and in an instant, the world exploded. The surroundings shook, and beams of chaotic light were dazzling. Ling Xiao seemed to have become the ruler of this world. He waved his hand, and immediately, divine light filled the sky, enveloping Zhang Tianxing and the other 8 inheritors. No, the flipping sky seal is mine, mine. Zhang Tianxing's eyes, and his eyes were filled with indignation and anger, and indignation. However, after Ling Xiao had completely refined the core of the array formation of the flipping sky seal, Zhang Tianxing and the other inheritors could no longer stay in this world. They were immediately pushed out. What a pity! Ling Xiao said faintly. His eyes shone with a bright light. None of the inheritors had entered this world with their true bodies. They had only used part of their primordial spirits. Furthermore, due to the effects of the inheritance imprint, they had directly taken over the body of a skeleton. Hence, even if they killed Zhang Tianxing and the others, it would be useless. Moreover, Ling Xiao had taken control of the flipping sky seal's legacy mark and condensed the Tao of death in this world. He had no time to kill the primordial spirits of Zhang Tianxing and the others. But Ling Xiao did not care. From now on, he was the only owner of the flipping sky seal. Master, please spare our lives. King Divine Firmament and the other kings pleaded with Ling Xiao, their eyes full of pleading. They could feel that the power in their bodies was rapidly draining, and even their vitality was slowly dissipating. They could already feel the threat of death. Ling Xiao had no intention of stopping after refining the array core. He continued to devour the power of the 9 of them. To completely control and activate the flipping sky seal, I need the power of the 9 of you. This is your honor. Thunder Spirit King, I'll leave it to you. Ling Xiao said calmly. Suddenly, the Thunder Spirit King's body flashed and appeared. He swallowed the black seal that Ling Xiao had thrown to him. Don't worry, Master. The Thunder Spirit King laughed and then looked at the 9 kings with evil intentions. He controlled the power of the array core and rushed toward the 9 kings. After refining the array core, Ling Xiao understood that to completely control the flipping sky seal, he had to integrate the power of the 9 kings. It could be said that the only destiny of the 9 kings was to help the owner of the flipping sky seal control the flipping sky seal. Ling Xiao had decided to let the Thunder Spirit King become the device spirit of the flipping sky seal. Therefore, he let the Thunder Spirit King devour the 9 kings. The 9 kings screamed, but Ling Xiao was not moved. Soon, the 9 kings were all devoured by the Thunder Spirit King. Rumble! The Thunder Spirit King's body shone brightly and emitted a vast and mysterious aura. The entire fate-reversing palace began to shake. Just one more step. Ling Xiao's eyes showed a trace of reluctance, but in the end, he made up his mind. The Death Tao fruit flew directly towards the Thunder Spirit King, blooming with bright light. In an instant, it merged with the Thunder Spirit King. If the Thunder Spirit King wanted to become the device spirit of the flipping sky seal, it was not enough to just devour the power of the 9 kings. He also needed the Death Tao fruit. Therefore, Ling Xiao decisively gave the Death Tao fruit to the Thunder Spirit King. Ling Xiao became a saint in one step only because he was in the world of death. Ling Xiao was not willing to become a saint just like that. He had bigger ambitions. Therefore, giving the Death Tao fruit to the Thunder Spirit King was the best choice. Boom! The aura of the Thunder Spirit King became more and more terrifying. Soon, it surpassed the limit of the 9th Revolution half-saint and reached a mysterious realm. It was as if he was the master of this world. He could mobilize the supreme power with every move. The strong sense of power made the Thunder Spirit King a little lost. However, he immediately reacted and knelt down in front of Ling Xiao. The Thunder Spirit King greets the Master. I am willing to be Master's spear, Master's sword, and Master's spear, even if I die 100 times. The Thunder Spirit King looked very serious. Then, a 9-colored blood bead floated out from his body and turned into a mysterious talisman in the void. It flew toward Ling Xiao in an instant. Ling Xiao did not hesitate and merged the talisman into his sea of consciousness. Chapter 1685. Congratulations on becoming the owner of the Flipping Sky Seal. Little friend Long, you're a genius. We admire you. The owner of the Flipping Sky Seal deserves it. Li Qingyun, Pang Gufeng, and Mu Yuanxing said seriously. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Ling Xiao had become the owner of the Flipping Sky Seal and had complete control over it. Even the 9 kings had died in his hands. Li Qingyun and the other 2 knew that they would soon leave the world of the Flipping Sky Seal and return to their homeland. Many thanks to the 3 elders. The Panga clan, Fengshui family, and Tomb King City will soon return to the divine world. However, the enemies of the 3 clans have unfathomable forces in the divine world. If you return now, I'm afraid the consequences will be unimaginable. Ling Xiao looked at the 3 of them and said seriously, Little friend Long is right. Our deaths are not regrettable, but we must find the young master. We can give up the lives of the Fengshui family, Tomb King City, and even the Panga clan. As long as the young master is still alive, we still have hope. Li Qingyun said seriously. His eyes were filled with the determination to die. Young master? Who is the young master you're talking about? Ling Xiao asked curiously. He had never heard the 3 of them talk about the so-called young master. This so-called young master made Ling Xiao very curious. After all, the Pangu clan was an emperor clan. They were the descendants of great Emperor Pangu. The Fengshui family and Tomb King City were the tomb keepers of great Emperor Pangu. The young master is actually the direct descendant of great Emperor Pangu. He's the son of great Emperor Pangu. He's also our young master. Li Qingyun said seriously. What? This time, Ling Xiao was shocked. The direct descendant of great Emperor Pangu was still alive in this world? Little friend Long, you don't know. It's true that the Fengshui family and Tomb King City are the tomb keepers of great Emperor Pangu, but more importantly, were the tomb keepers of the young master. During the 9 emperors era, the human clan was weak. Great Emperor Pangu fought bloody battles and swept across the world. In the end, he even shed blood in the sky and won the most precious time for the human clan. The young master had been sealed by great Emperor Pangu for billions of years and had only been reborn 1,000,000 years ago. Although the Hua tribe and the Heavenly Curse sect coveted the extreme Dao Emperor weapon, the Pangu axe, more importantly, the news was leaked. They knew that the young lord was born and wanted to kill the young lord before he grew stronger. 1,000,000 years have passed, and we don't know where the young master is at this moment, but we believe that the young master is definitely not dead, so we must find the young master. Li Qingyun said seriously. That's right. The son of great Emperor Pangu is the pride of the Pangu clan, and the young master is the clan leader of the Pangu clan. As long as he is alive, there is hope for the Pangu clan. Pang Gufeng said with reddened eyes. So, little friend Long, please let us go. No matter what the consequences are, we will bear all the consequences. We will not implicate little friend Long. Mu Yuanxing bowed deeply towards Ling Xiao. Seniors, please rise. This junior doesn't dare. I wonder what's the name of the young master you're talking about? Why don't I ask around for you first? You don't want to implicate the young master because of your appearance, right? Ling Xiao said with a wry smile. His original intention was to let the 3 tribes hide in the Flipping Sky Seal for a period of time until he found a safe place to let them leave. He did not expect them to be so impatient that they would even put aside a life-and-death battle for the sake of the young master. Ling Xiao admired them and respected great Emperor Pangu who fought for the human tribe. Therefore, he was willing to do something for the Pangu clan. Li Qingyun, Pang Gufeng, and Mu Yuanxing hesitated. Ling Xiao had indeed spoken their minds. They would not regret their deaths, but if they implicated the young master, they would not be able to redeem themselves even if they died 100 times. The young master's name is Pangu Tiangang. Finally, Pang Gufeng and the other 2 looked at each other and slowly said a name. What? Senior brother Tiangang? It was Ling Zhao's turn to be shocked. He also did not expect that the young master mentioned by the three was actually senior brother Tiangang. No wonder he sensed a vast and terrifying seal within eldest senior brother Big Dipper's body, hiding a powerful bloodline power. It turned out that eldest senior brother Big Dipper was the son of Great Emperor Pangu, a true Great Emperor bloodline. Little friend Long, you know the young master? Li Qingyun, Pangu Feng, and Mu Yuanxing suddenly became excited, their eyes filled with incomparable anticipation. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "The three elders are right. If I'm not wrong, the young master you're talking about is my senior brother, Tiangang. He's currently in the War God Temple." Ling Xiao recounted how he met Tiangang and how he discovered Tiangong's Panga bloodline. "The heavens really pity my Panga clan. The young master is not dead, he's not dead. He's still alive." Panga Feng's eyes were wet, his old face filled with tears of excitement. His body was trembling violently, and such an adult was crying like a child. Li Qingyun and Mu Yuanxing were also trembling, so excited that they couldn't control themselves. In fact, they were incomparably worried in their hearts. After all, they had stayed in this world of death for millions of years. Whether the young master was dead or alive, the hope was probably very slim. They could only comfort themselves that the young master was still alive. Now that they heard news of Tiangang from Ling Xiao's mouth, they were wild with joy, as if their bitter wait for so many years was finally not in vain. After waiting for the three of them to calm down a little, Ling Xiao said slowly, "Three elders, now that you know the news of senior brother Tiangang, you should be relieved, right? For the sake of senior brother Tiangong's safety, I suggest you stay here for now. After I leave, I'll find an opportunity to bring senior brother Tiangang to see you." "Many thanks, little friend Long. I can't thank you enough. Everything will be decided by little friend Long." Li Qingyun, Pangu Feng, and Mu Yuanxing said seriously, then directly knelt down and bowed deeply to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and hurriedly went forward to help them up. However, these three old men were incomparably stubborn, and insisted on bowing deeply to Ling Xiao before standing up. "Three elders, you can go back and wait for now. I'll bring senior brother Tiangang to see you very soon," Ling Xiao said seriously, making another promise. Li Qingyun, Pangu Feng, and Mu Yuanxing left with incomparable excitement. "Master, I didn't expect Tiangang to be the son of Great Emperor Pangu. This is too unbelievable." Thunder Spirit King also exclaimed. That was the son of a great emperor. With the prestige of the 9 great emperors of the human race, as long as the son of a great emperor appeared, his prestige would definitely surpass that of an ordinary sage. This matter must be kept a secret. Wait until I see senior brother Tiangang first. Now it's time for us to leave. Chapter 1686. Inside War Mountain. The cyclic sky seal was like an ancient sacred mountain, floating in the mysterious chaotic void. It was heavy and ancient, and it contained a power that made the heavens and earth tremble. Suddenly, a light flashed above the cyclic sky seal, and 8 figures appeared. They were Zhan Tianxing, Gung Long, and Gung Hu. "Long Outyen, you stole my cyclic sky seal and my opportunity. I will not forgive you." Zhan Tianxing's eyes were bloodshot, and he exuded a strong murderous aura. He roared, and the sky shook violently. "What happened? Did we fail?" Gung Long, Gung Hu, and the other 6 were confused. They looked at the huge cyclic sky seal, and they could not remember what had happened. After leaving the cyclic sky seal, their memories of the cyclic sky seal had been erased. However, Zhan Tianxing had the bloodline of the war tribe. Hence, he remembered everything that had happened clearly. Especially when he recalled that Ling Xiao had snatched the array core of the flipping sky seal from him, he almost went mad with hatred. "Senior brother Zhan, you mean the cyclic sky seal is in Long Outyen's hands? How is that possible?" Gung Long and Gung Hu trembled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They had even forgotten that Zhan Tianxing had sacrificed the 7 of them in the world of death to open the fate-reversing palace. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, the void in the distance shone brightly. Lu Wenjing, Lei Qinjue, Xing Jun, and the other members of the War God Hall appeared in the middle of War Mountain. They stared at Zhang Tianxing and the others with different expressions. Tianxing, did you make the cyclic sky seal recognize you as its master? Lei Qinjue stared at Zhang Tianxing and asked impatiently. Zhang Tianxing froze, and his face darkened. He shook his head and said nothing. You still failed? But it doesn't matter. For millions of years, no one has been able to make the cyclic sky seal recognize you as its master. It's not your fault. Where's Long Outyan? He dared to kill Huang Wuji of the 9 imperial gates. This is a heinous crime. No one can save him this time. Lei Qinjue was a little disappointed, but he still comforted Zhang Tianxing. When he mentioned Ling Xiao, a cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. That's right. This time, no one could save him. The Grand Elder of the 9 imperial gates has already arrived at my war god shrine to denounce us. The sect has already decided that as long as we can verify that Long Outyan killed Huang Wuji, we will hand him over to the 9 imperial gates for punishment. Xing Jun sneered and said, Lei Qinjue, Xing Jun, it's too early to say anything. We don't even know if Long Outyan was the one who killed Huang Wuji. Aren't you afraid that the other disciples will be disappointed if you slander them like this? Lu Wenjing's expression was extremely ugly as he said coldly, that's not right. Zhang Tianxing, why are there only 8 of you? Where did Long Outyan go? Could it be? At that moment, Yang Fan, who was dressed in white, suddenly asked Zhang Tianxing with a glint in his eyes. Could it be that Long Outyan has already made the cyclic sky seal recognize him as its master? Lu Wenjing's body also trembled, and he immediately became excited. Martial Uncle Lu, you're truly delusional. Zhang Tianxing has the bloodline of the war tribe, but even he couldn't make the cyclic sky seal recognize him as its master. Who does Long Outyan think he is? Is he even worthy of making the cyclic sky seal recognize him as its master? Xing Jun sneered, and his eyes were filled with disdain. However, the sneer on his face quickly froze. Zhang Tianxing nodded, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness as he said, That's right. Long Outyan has indeed made the cyclic sky seal recognize him as its master. Zhang Tianxing's words shocked everyone, and their faces were filled with disbelief. That was the cyclic sky seal, and no one had been able to make it recognize him as its master for millions of years. When they heard that Long Outyan had become its master, they almost thought that there was something wrong with their ears. Tianxing, are you sure? Lei Qinjue's expression was extremely ugly as he stared at Zhang Tianxing and asked again. That's right. Originally, I had already obtained the array core of the cyclic sky seal, but Long Outyan used a despicable method to take control of the cyclic sky seal from me. Zhang Tianxing's handsome face was extremely contorted, and he gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. It's true. Everyone's hearts were in turmoil. Long Outyan had actually become the master of the cyclic sky seal. Now that the cyclic sky seal had recognized him as its master, it meant that Battle Hall was about to rise. With Long Outyan in control of the cyclic sky seal, he would become the true master of Battle Hall. A hall master and a true disciple could not be compared to each other. Now, would the sect still hand Long Outyan over to the 9 imperial gates? When they thought of this, everyone became excited. Many of them had wanted to come and watch the show. They wanted to see how Long Outyan, who had wreaked havoc in Battle Hall, would deal with the supreme elder of the 9 imperial gates. However, reality slapped them hard in the face, and they were completely dumbfounded. I knew that Long Outyan would be able to control the cyclic sky seal and become the master of Battle Hall. God bless Battle Hall. God bless Battle Hall. Lu Wenjing laughed loudly, and his eyes were filled with excitement. He danced around like a child, and his eyes were wet. He had been waiting for this day for far too long. For millions of years, Battle Hall had been on the decline, but he had never given up. Now that the cyclic sky seal had finally recognized him as its master, Lu Wenjing could already see Battle Hall rising like the sun, shining with unstoppable divine light. Damn it! Lei Qinjue and Xing Jun's expressions were extremely ugly, and they unconsciously clenched their fists. Zhan Tianxing, who they thought highly of, had failed, and Long Outyen, who they hated the most, had succeeded. It was as if the heavens had played a huge joke on them. Zhan Tianxing suddenly raised his head and said to Lei Qinjue and Xing Jun, "I can testify that Huang Wuji was killed by Long Outyen." Zhan Tianxing's words made Lei Qinjue and Xing Jun tremble, and their eyes lit up. Long Outyen was still a true disciple, and he had not officially become the master of Battle Hall. Even if he had the cyclic sky seal, the sect could still force him to hand it over. As long as they could prove that Long Outyen had killed Huang Wuji, they could push for Long Outyen to be handed over to the 9 imperial gates. Then, who would be the most suitable successor for the cyclic sky seal? It could only be Zhan Tianxing. Lei Qinjue immediately said righteously, "Tianxing, do you have any proof? If Long Outyen really killed Huang Wuji and destroyed the alliance between the Combat God Temple and the 9 imperial gates, then he is an evil person. He is not fit to be a disciple of the Combat God Temple, and he is not fit to control the cyclic sky seal." That's right. If we can prove that Long Outyen killed Huang Wuji, then he has violated the rules of the Combat God Temple. As the enforcement elder, it is my duty to kill this insolent person. Chapter 1687. The moment Lei Qinjue and Xing Jun spoke, everyone's expression changed. They suddenly realized that even if Long Outyen had become the owner of the sky-flipping seal, he was still just a true disciple. If it was proven that Huang Wuji was killed by Long Outyen, the Grand Elder of the 9 imperial gates would not let Long Outyen off the hook. The sect would not offend a sage patriarch for a mere immortal king disciple. Zhan Tianxing, don't you dare accuse me. The Grand Elder of the 9 imperial gates has already said that he found your aura at the place where Huang Wuji died. I think you are the one who killed Huang Wuji. Don't even think about framing Long Outyen. Lu Wenjing said coldly. Long Outyen was the hope of the Battle Temple. If anyone dared to harm Long Outyen, he would not hesitate to kill them. Zhan Tianxing said coldly, I saw Huang Wuji in the Divine Cloud Valley in the mythical dimension. He was also there to capture thunder spirits to train his cultivation. He also had a dispute with Long Outyen. Later, when the Divine Cloud Palace opened, Long Outyen used a despicable scheme to injure me and the Thunder Spirit King in order to obtain the Divine Cloud Saint's heritage. In the end, he reaped the benefits and even made the Thunder Spirit King acknowledge him as his master. After that, I left the Divine Cloud Valley and heard the news of Huang Wuji's death. Long Outyen must have wanted to frame me by finding my aura at the place where Huang Wuji died. It is actually very simple to find out the truth. All you need to do is to go through the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition. I dare to go through the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition, but does Long Outyen dare to? Lu Wenjing's expression changed instantly. He knew that Huang Wuji had died at Ling Zhao's hands. Zhan Tianxing dared to go through the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition, but Ling Zhao definitely could not. Under the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition, one's life and thoughts would be out of control. All the secrets hidden in one's heart would be revealed. It was like taking off one's clothes in front of everyone. There would be no more secrets. What was more important was not killing Huang Wuji, but the wordless book on Ling Zhao. Once the wordless book was exposed, the consequences would be thousands of times worse than killing Huang Wuji. By then, even the Battle Temple would not be able to protect Ling Zhao would become the enemy of the world. Lei Qinjue sneered and said, That's right. It was very simple to find out who the real culprit was. I want to see how Long Outyen is going to quibble under the Saint Dao Heart questioning. Everyone had different expressions on their faces, and the atmosphere had become incomparably subtle. Rumble. At this moment, the flipping sky seal in the distance suddenly began to tremble. An ancient and heavy aura emanated from it. Divine might permeated the air, containing fluctuations that shook the heavens and the earth. In an instant, tens of thousands of rays of light bloomed. The entire War Mountain began to shake as a vast and unparalleled devouring power emanated from the flipping sky seal. War Mountain's entire body glowed, and the boundless energy of the world flocked over and fused into War Mountain. War Mountain trembled. Mysterious saintly way markings appeared on it like divine chains of order. They circled around War Mountain as if it had been completely awakened. Grand bells, grand Tao sounds, heavenly flowers, golden lotuses, all sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared on War Mountain. Apart from Lu Wenjing and the other disciples of War Hall, everyone who was originally in the belly of the mountain was swept out of War Mountain by a powerful force. The huge cyclic sky seal shone brightly and directly flew out of the belly of the mountain and floated above War Mountain. A young man in a snow-white robe stood on the cyclic sky seal. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes shone like stars. He was surrounded by an endless amount of chaotic qi. He had an invincible and extraordinary demeanor. Long Outyin, someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with shock. Who else could the young man on the flipping sky seal be but Long Outyin? Junior brother Long has really mastered the flipping sky seal. Pa. Tiangang and the rest laughed excitedly. Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw. This brat is in the limelight again. The black donkey opened its eyes wide and said unhappily, Brother Long, you're so powerful. Staring at its furry head, the purple lightning lion looked very cute. Its eyes were clear and pure, filled with admiration as it spoke in a childish voice. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The entire War God Hall was shaken by the aura of the flipping sky seal. Divine consciousness intertwined, vast and terrifying. All of it was projected onto War Mountain and onto Ling Xiao, who was on the flipping sky seal. At this moment, Ling Xiao was the center of attention. Rumble. Following the appearance of the flipping sky seal, bolts of lightning fell from the 9 heavens and enveloped the entire War Mountain. The purple lightning contained a vast amount of vitality and poured down like a waterfall. Thus, everyone saw an incomparably magical scene. The originally bare War Mountain began to exude a vast amount of vitality. Seeds burrowed out from the soil and the cracks in the rocks. Then they quickly sprouted and began to grow. In front of everyone's eyes, there was a green light that was like a sea of vitality. The seeds grew into towering trees. The buds grew into gorgeous flowers. Grass spread out and hung on the mountain walls like vines. All kinds of strange fruits grew. Snow-white apes, dancing red-crowned cranes, and herds of mountain deer all appeared on War Mountain. Water filled the air, forming a vast waterfall that flowed through the forest and formed a clear stream that shimmered under the sunlight. Exuberant vitality filled the air. Waterfalls and springs flowed on War Mountain. Multicolored light shone in all directions. Ancient trees towered into the sky. All kinds of strange flowers and plants bloomed. Spiritual mist filled the air. The originally barren War Mountain became like a paradise. Heaven and earth changed. The changes on War Mountain were even more magical than heaven and earth. But this was not the end. Auspicious purple energy rose and enveloped the entire War Mountain. Flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses bloomed from the ground. The mysterious sound of the Grand Tao resounded on War Mountain. It seemed to contain the truth of the Grand Tao, forming an ocean of the Grand Tao's true meaning. An incomparably mysterious power of laws was displayed before everyone. Whether it was Celestial Dipper, Xian Wang, Tai Niu, the Black Donkey, the Purple Lightning Lion, or even Lu Wenjing, they couldn't help but sit down cross-legged at this moment. Their faces were filled with incomparable ecstasy. Their bodies were enveloped by the Grand Tao's true meaning. Their cultivations and realms were rapidly increasing. Just a trace of the Grand Tao's true meaning from War Mountain was enough to enlighten those outside. It was comparable to cultivating for several years. It was hard to imagine what kind of heaven-defying fortune Lu Wenjing and the others had on War Mountain. Everyone revealed a look of extreme jealousy. And all of this was caused by Long Outyin on War Mountain. Chapter 1688. The entire War Mountain was like a withered tree receiving a new lease of life. After millions of years of silence, it finally began to blossom with boundless vitality. Moreover, because the flipping sky seal finally had an owner, This supreme treasure had activated the vast laws of heaven and earth, allowing the disciples of War Temple to obtain an unimaginable fortune. The power of the 5 elements gathered between heaven and earth. Yin and Yang divine light crisscrossed. The true meaning of the great Tao poured into the bodies of Tiangang and the others, allowing their cultivation to soar by leaps and bounds. Originally, if a divine king expert wanted to break through to the half-step saint realm, they had to comprehend the true meaning of the great Tao and form their own Saint Tao origin before they could break through. This process was extremely long. Even many genius disciples would spend countless years in the divine king realm before they could comprehend the true meaning of the great Tao. Just like the dean of the Aries College, Tong Yuan, who had been stuck at the great perfection divine king realm for thousands of years. This was a process of polishing one's state of mind, cultivation, and comprehension of the true meaning of the great Tao. If one did not have heaven-defying luck and opportunity, it would be impossible to achieve it overnight. Even if Tiangang and the others were extremely talented, they would still need to cultivate for at least hundreds or even thousands of years before they could break through to the semi-sage realm. However, they had encountered a supreme fortune and opportunity that had shortened this process by thousands or even tens of thousands of times. Their Tao heart had reached perfection and their cultivation had reached perfection. They had gradually found their own Saint Tao in the process of absorbing the true meaning of the great Tao of the heavens. Rumble. A mysterious Saint Tao aura emanated from Tiangang and the others, making their aura incomparably mysterious. It contained a majestic power, as if they were about to break through at any time. They are breaking through to the half-step saint realm? Someone exclaimed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Why would War Mountain have such a great fortune? Could it be that all of this was caused by that guy called Long Outyen? A disciple's eyes were filled with jealousy. It should be known that breaking through to the half-step saint realm was a major event in any immortal sacred ground. The sect would hold a celebration to qualify the person to be promoted to a true disciple. In the 12 immortal sacred grounds, Saint Realm experts were the foundation. A half-step saint was the most promising person to become a saint. Their status would also become unparalleled, far surpassing that of divine king disciples. If more than a dozen people from War Mountain were to advance to the half-step sage realm, then it would be a major event that would shock the entire War God Temple. It wasn't caused by Long Outyen. The cyclic heavenly seal. That's right. 1,000,000 years ago, the War Hall was the head of the 9 branches. It was a magnificent place with many powerful cultivators. The Scarlet Dragon War God controlled the sky-flipping seal and swept across the world. Could it be that Battle Hall is going to recreate the scene from 1,000,000 years ago? A few of the elders with aged faces seemed to have thought of something and were filled with shock. Rumble. At that moment, the cyclic sky seal emitted a brilliant light. It enveloped the entire mountain in an instant, forming a dazzling boundary. It locked in the mysterious precept and true meaning of the Great Path. The trace of aura that had leaked out had also disappeared. The disciples gathered outside War Mountain all showed a look of regret. It should be known that just a trace of aura from the cyclic sky seal had made them feel that they had obtained a great fortune. It was comparable to a few months of bitter cultivation. On War Mountain, Tiangong's qi and blood surged. In an instant, the surrounding void trembled. A majestic true meaning of the holy way gushed out from his body. It seemed that he could no longer suppress his cultivation and was about to break through to the half-step sage realm. Oh no! A sharp light flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes. He immediately controlled the cyclic sky seal. A majestic sealing power shot out from the cyclic sky seal and poured into Tiangong's body. It suppressed his violent cultivation and prevented him from breaking through to the half-step sage realm. After all, Tiangang had just broken through to the great divine king realm. He had obtained enough fortune today. If he forcibly broke through to the half-step sage realm now, his foundation would be unstable. Therefore, Ling Zhao did not want him to break through like this. More importantly, Ling Zhao could feel that the bloodline seal in Tiangong's body seemed to be unable to suppress it anymore. Tiangang was the son of great Emperor Pangu. Most importantly, The Chinese and heavenly curse sect in the divine world were probably constantly monitoring the bloodline of the Panga clan. If Tiangang exposed the bloodline of the Panga clan when he broke through to the half-step sage realm, a great disaster would befall him instantly. If the Chinese and heavenly curse sect joined forces, the War God Hall would not be able to resist them. Moreover, it was impossible for the War God Hall to resist the two superpowers for Tiangang. Then, Ling Xiao continuously used the sealing power to seal the cultivation of Xian Wang, Tainyo, Black Donkey, and the others. He helped them suppress their cultivation and prevented them from breaking through to the half-step sage realm. He only allowed them to continue comprehending the vast true meaning of the Great Tao to strengthen their foundation. The flipping sky seal had accumulated power for millions of years. Just a few of the remaining waves were enough to allow Tiangang and the others to obtain supreme fortune. Even Great Elder Lu Wenjing's vitality became vigorous. Although his cultivation did not break through, his aura had become much stronger. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook and the entire War Mountain changed greatly. The War Mountain was majestic. Ancient trees towered into the sky and old vines surrounded it. All kinds of exotic flowers and herbs were in full bloom, exuding a strange fragrance. All kinds of rare birds and beasts were roaming in the forest. Waterfalls and springs were flowing, strange rocks were strange, and vast spiritual mist shrouded the forest. It made people feel comfortable all over with just a sniff. The War God Hall at the top of the mountain shone with thousands of auspicious lights. It was ancient and mysterious, causing the void to tremble violently. The vicissitudes of life and the ancient aura seemed to be telling everyone about the glory of the War God Hall. Ling Xiao stood in the air. His white robe was whiter than snow. His slender figure was handsome and his face was calm. His body exuded a mysterious glow and was shrouded in a faint chaotic mist. It was as if he had become the center of the entire world. More importantly, the flipping sky seal had shrunk to the size of a fist and landed in his palm. It was as black as ink, but it exuded a destructive and suppressive aura. The flipping sky seal and the War God Hall complemented each other. Ling Zhao's eyes seemed to have the power to see through people's hearts. Even Lei Qinjue, Xing Jun, and the others did not dare to look into Ling Zhao's eyes. They could not help but lower their heads. The flipping sky seal should have been mine. It's mine. Zhan Tianxing's handsome face was contorted and filled with crazy killing intent and jealousy. In front of Ling Xiao, he had an inexplicable feeling that he was not as good as Ling Xiao. This made him, who had always been arrogant, filled with anger and killing intent. This man must not be allowed to live. Lei Qinjue and Xing Jun looked at each other and saw the fear and killing intent in each other's eyes. Chapter 1689. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. Dazzling light bloomed in the distant void as powerful auras swept across the sky. The news that Ling Xiao wielded the flipping sky seal had spread throughout the War God Temple. Even the War God of the War God Temple was alarmed. He was dressed in white and looked magnificent. His temperament was transcendent. His body was shrouded in a faint glow and his face could not be seen clearly. However, the vast power of the Saint Path caused the void to tremble. The great Path immortal flower floated out of the void. Golden lotuses filled the air and a mysterious vision lingered between heaven and earth. Everyone could not help but tremble. The War God Supreme of the War God Temple had arrived. Greetings, War God. Everyone's eyes were filled with awe. They bowed to the white-clothed War God one after another. Their voices were like thunder that shook the sky. Rise. The War God said indifferently as his gaze fell on Ling Xiao in the void. Beside the War God was an old man with white hair and beard. He wore a luxurious violet robe and held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He seemed like a transcendent being with an extremely dignified appearance. His aura was extremely powerful as well. He was a saint as well. Behind the old man stood a middle-aged man in a purple robe and a young man with an arrogant face. Their auras were extremely powerful. The middle-aged man in the purple robe was a 9th Revolution half-saint. Even the arrogant young man was a third revolution half-saint. People from the 9 imperial gates? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He immediately sensed that the old man with white hair and beard and the people behind him were from the 9 imperial gates. They did not seem to have good intentions. Lord Battle God, is this Long Outyen? I did not expect that after 1,000,000 years of decline, there would be someone who could wield the flipping sky seal today. Congratulations. However, if this man really kills my grandson, please do not stop him, War God. When the white-haired elder saw the changes in Zhan Mountain, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Finally his gaze landed on Ling Xiao. It was incomparably deep, as if he wanted to see through Ling Xiao from head to toe. However, Ling Xiao had used the heaven-shrouding secret skill at this moment. His entire person looked like a piece of chaos. Although the old man was a sage, he could not see through Ling Xiao's true state. He really came for Huang Wuji. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but sneer. The war god's expression was very calm, as if he didn't have any expression. Yang Fan, who was dressed in white, cupped his hands towards the old man and said, "Holy Emperor, we don't know how Huang Wuji died. Even if we find out who killed Huang Wuji in the end, we can't generalize. Please understand." Yang Fan knew that this old man's name was Huang Tai, a supreme elder of the imperial clan. His power was unfathomable and he had proven his Tao several 100,000 years ago to become a saint. No one knew what his current cultivation level was. Therefore, when Huang Tai arrived at the War God Temple, the War God personally came to welcome him. "Oh, so you're saying that you want to protect this kid?" Huang Tai said calmly. His expression was very indifferent. A faint trace of saintly aura spread out from his body, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Even Yang Fan could not help but show a trace of fear in his eyes. "We wouldn't dare. Holy Emperor, why don't we find out what happened first, and then we'll decide how to deal with it?" Yang Fan said with a smile. Huang Tai glanced at the War God and said, "Lord War God, I'm not an unreasonable person. As long as we find out that my grandson's death has nothing to do with them, I'll leave immediately. Therefore, I must use the Saint Path Inquisition to investigate Zhan Tianxing and Long Outyen's hearts to find the real culprit who killed my grandson. Please grant my wish, Lord War God." As soon as Huang Tai's voice fell, Lu Wenjing's expression changed. He knew that Huang Wuji had indeed died at Ling Zhao's hands. If Huang Tai really used the Saint Path Inquisition, the result would be clear immediately. Moreover, Ling Xiao had the textless heavenly book. Whether it was to avenge Huang Wuji or to expose the textless heavenly book, the entire War God Temple would probably be plunged into a catastrophe. Ling Xiao would also die without a doubt. "No. Huang Tai, this is the War God Temple, not the 9 imperial gates. You want to use the Saint Path Inquisition to interrogate the disciples of the War God Temple based on your suspicions? What right do you have? I don't agree. Lord War God, are you really going to let this old man do whatever he wants?" Lu Wenjing suppressed a trace of anger in his voice. "Lu Wenjing, you're already old. Your cultivation has fallen to the sage-to-be realm. Do you think you're still the same as you were 1,000,000 years ago? I have evidence. Zhan Tianxing and Long Outyen were at the place where my grandson died. They're the 2 biggest suspects. I'll definitely get an answer today." Huang Tai said coldly. His voice carried a resolute and decisive tone. "Huang Tai, if it was 1,000,000 years ago, would you dare to be so arrogant in front of me? Long Outyen is a member of the War God Temple. Now that he has the cyclic sky seal, he's the master of the War God Temple. You don't have the right to use the Saint Path Inquisition on him." Lu Wenjing sneered and didn't back down. Huang Tai's eyes flashed coldly. Lu Wenjing's words seemed to have touched his heart. He and Lu Wenjing were from the same era. 1,000,000 years ago, before the 2 of them had become saints, Lu Wenjing had already suppressed him. Even after becoming a saint, he had lost to Lu Wenjing several times, which was a great humiliation to him. "Whoever dares to stop me from avenging Huang Wuji is my mortal enemy," Huang Tai said coldly as he stared at Lu Wenjing. The saint aura around him was concealed, and his aura became extremely terrifying. At this moment, Zhang Tianxing suddenly sneered and said, "Lord War God, I can prove that the person who killed Huang Wuji is Long Outyen." He broke the agreement between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates. He's too audacious and killed the innocent. He doesn't deserve to be a disciple of the War God Temple, and he doesn't deserve the cyclic sky seal. Lei Qinjue also said coldly, "Lord War God, I also agree to use the Saint Path Inquisition on Zhang Tianxing and Long Outyen. After all, this concerns the agreement between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates. If it's proven that they're not the culprits, the misunderstanding can be cleared up. If it's proven that someone is the culprits, it can be resolved and dealt with in time. It won't affect the relationship between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates." I agree with Vice Temple Master Lei. Lord War God, this is not a simple matter. It concerns the safety of the War God Temple. If there's really a disciple who dares to break the brotherhood between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates, he should be killed. Xing Jun also stepped forward and agreed. Chapter 1690. Many disciples and elders had different expressions on their faces. They were all skeptical about Ling Xiao killing Huang Wuji, but now that Long Outyen had really killed Huang Wuji, it would definitely arouse the hostility of the 9 Imperial Gates. The current War God Temple was not as powerful as it was a million years ago. It was ranked among the 12 immortal sacred lands, but it was only at the bottom. All these years, it was only because of the alliance with the 9 Imperial Gates and the Taishang Palace that it was able to recuperate. Therefore, the disciples of the War God Temple were very aggrieved. Every time they met the disciples of the 9 Imperial Gates and the Taishang Palace, they would choose to retreat, which made the 9 Imperial Gates more and more arrogant and domineering. After all, the 9 Imperial Gates' strength was very terrifying. Even among the 12 immortal sacred lands, it was ranked at the top. Could it be that the War God Temple has no choice but to swallow their anger and sacrifice their own disciples? Seeing the reaction of Lei Qinjue, Xing Jun, and the others, many disciples felt a kind of sadness in their hearts. It was like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. This was the War God Temple. Since when could the people of the 9 Imperial Gates strut around here? When Ling Xiao saw this scene, his heart couldn't help but burst into anger. This was the War God Temple. This was the War God Temple that the Scarlet Dragon War God couldn't forget even in death. When did they become so spineless? The courage in their hearts had been ground away. What kind of future did the War God Temple have? Sooner or later, they would fall from the 12 immortal sacred lands and be swallowed by others. Along with this, Ling Zhao's feeling towards the white-clothed War God in the void also became somewhat disgusted. As the War God Supreme of the War God Temple, he must be responsible for the War God Temple's current state. Ling Xiao stepped forward and said with a cold laugh, "I didn't kill Huang Wuji. But in order to prove my innocence, I am willing to accept the Divine Path Inquisition." Long Outinu, Lu Wenjing suddenly became anxious and wanted to stop Ling Xiao, but he was stopped by a look from Ling Xiao. For some reason, Lu Wenjing's heart suddenly calmed down. He believed that Ling Xiao would not make unnecessary sacrifices. It seemed that he was confident that he would accept the Divine Path Inquisition. Zhang Tianxing, Lei Qinjue, and the others were all shocked. According to their speculations, Huang Wuji was most likely killed by Ling Xiao. How could he dare to accept the Saint's Heart Inquisition? Was there something they didn't know about? Very good. At least you have some guts. If it is proven that Huang Wuji was not killed by you, I will not make things difficult for you. But if you really killed Huang Wuji, then don't blame this old man for being impolite. Huang Tai glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. I am willing to accept the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition, but I have a condition. Ling Xiao said coldly. What conditions? Huang Tai asked indifferently. This is my War God Temple, not your 9 Imperial Gates. I am a disciple of the War God Temple, not your 9 Imperial Gates. This is not a place where you can come and go as you please. If you can prove that I killed Huang Wuji, then I'm willing to accept your punishment. But if it turns out that I didn't kill Huang Wuji, I want you to apologize to me. Ling Xiao looked straight at Huang Tai as he spoke. His eyes were clear and his voice was impassioned. Long Outyen, I think you must be dreaming. Who do you think you are? How dare you ask the Imperial Sacred Emperor to apologize to you? Zhang Tianxing's voice pierced through the air. His eyes were filled with mockery. That's right. The Imperial Sacred Emperor is a saint. Why would he apologize to you? Long Outyen, you better stop wasting time. I think you are the one who killed Huang Wuji. You better admit your guilt and not ruin the relationship between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates. Lei Qinjue sneered coldly. Shut up. Ling Xiao glared at Zhang Tianxing and Lei Qinjue and scolded. First you talk about the relationship between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates, then you talk about the relationship between the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Gates. Are you still the disciples of the War God Temple? Since when did the War God Temple have to rely on others to survive? Where is your courage? Where is your pride? Where is your backbone? I finally know why the War God Temple has weakened. It's not because of that great calamity a million years ago, but because of you scum who only know how to bully the weak and suck up to the strong. Because you've been kneeling for so long that you've forgotten how to stand up, how to straighten your backs, and how to be a proper person. Rumble. Every time Ling Xiao spoke, he would take a step closer to Zhang Tianxing and Lei Qianjue. His voice was like rolling thunder, echoing throughout the War God Temple. He was like an ancient saint who rebuked evil and ruled over justice. His entire body exuded an inviolable aura. The men of the War God Temple don't need to suck up to anyone. We kneel to the heavens, the earth, and our parents. Anyone who dares to make us kneel is our enemy and must be killed. The spirit of the War God Temple is to fight against the heavens, the earth, and all enemies. Even if there are millions of enemies, we will not hesitate. If we lose this courage and our pride, even if the War God Temple still exists, it's no different from being destroyed. I, Long Outyen, am a man with pride. I'm ashamed to be associated with cowards like you. Ling Zhao's every word was majestic and impassioned. A vast force of heaven and earth surrounded him. It pressed down on Zhang Tianxing and Lei Qinjue, causing them to tremble in fear. Their faces turned pale and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. Well said. The men of the War God Temple are hot-blooded and proud. We won't kneel to anyone. Damn it. Those who humiliate the War God Temple will be killed without mercy. Many disciples and elders of the War God Temple were fired up by Ling Zhao's words. Their eyes lit up with anger and battle intent as they glared at Huang Tai, Zhang Tianxing, Lei Qinjue, and the others. At that moment, it was as if the battle spirit that had been sealed away for a long time had been awakened. The blood of the disciples and elders of the War God Temple surged into the sky and condensed into a blazing divine light that enveloped the entire area. Junior brother Long is right. The War God Temple would rather die standing than live kneeling. Tian Gang and the others were all fired up. Xian Wang, Wang Lin, Min Rou, and the others looked at Ling Xiao with excitement in their eyes. Good. Master, did you see that? You have a good disciple. Lu Wenzheng was already in tears. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. In a trance, he seemed to see the invincible figure from a million years ago in Ling Xiao. At that moment, the Scarlet Dragon War God and Ling Xiao seemed to have merged into one. Everyone was shocked. Even the white-clothed War God looked at Ling Xiao's eyes with a little more complicated color. This kid can mobilize the battle intent and sacrifice of the War God Temple. We can't let him live. Huang Tai's indifferent expression finally changed. Chapter 1691. Huang Tai was also a scheming person. His actions in the War God Temple seemed arrogant, but in reality, there was a deeper meaning. It was not only because of his identity as a saint, nor was it to avenge his grandson, Huang Wuji. More importantly, he wanted to use this to further suppress the morale of the people in the War God Temple, so that they would not dare to have thoughts of going against the 9 imperial gates. However, what he did not expect was that Ling Zhao's words would stimulate the hearts of the people in the War God Temple. It made their fighting spirit soar, as if the accumulated resentment had burst out. Other than Ling Zhao's impassioned speech, Huang Tai had discovered that Ling Xiao was able to form a kind of saint path resonance with the cyclic sky seal. Therefore, when he spoke, he was like a saint. He had the power of law with his words. This was a saint path resonance that could only be formed after refining the flipping sky seal to the realm of being able to do as one wished. It shocked Huang Tai. Huang Tai felt that he had outsmarted himself. He had stimulated the fighting spirit of the people in the War God Temple. It was as if a seed had appeared in their hearts, and sooner or later, it would grow into a towering tree. If the War God Temple really grew, it would definitely not be good news for the 9 imperial gates. An easy-to-control War God Temple was what the 9 imperial gates wanted. Elder Huang Tai, I think Long Outyen's request is very reasonable. If we find that Long Outyen is Huang Wuji's murderer through the Saint Path inquiry, then I'll let you deal with him. However, if he's not Huang Wuji's murderer, you must apologize to him. The war god in white suddenly spoke. He looked at Huang Tai seriously, and there was a glimmer of radiance in his eyes. Huang Tai hesitated for a moment, then smiled coldly and said, "All right, no problem." Ancestor. The purple-robed middle-aged man and the arrogant young man behind Huang Tai were a little anxious. Huang Tai was a saint and the supreme elder of the 9 imperial gates. If he apologized to a true disciple of the War God Temple, he would be a laughingstock. Even the 9 imperial gates would lose face. Say no more. Huang Tai stopped the two of them. Seeing that Huang Tai had made up his mind, the two of them could only smile bitterly and say nothing more. However, their gazes towards Huang Tai were filled with hostility and killing intent. For the sake of fairness, Elder Huang Tai and I will preside over the Saint Path heart examination together. Elder Huang Tai, you don't have any objections, right? The war god in white said faintly. I have no objections. Huang Tai nodded. He naturally knew that the War God Temple would not allow him to perform the Sacred Heart Inquisition alone. After all secrets would no longer be secrets under the Sacred Heart Inquisition. Long Outyen Zhan Tianxing, come here. The white-clothed war god calmly said. Ling Xiao looked indifferent and walked in front of the white-clothed war god. Although Zhan Tianxing also walked over, his face was a little ugly. Although he was sure that Huang Wuji's death had something to do with Ling Xiao, seeing Ling Xiao's confident look, his heart was a little uncertain. Vice Palace Master Lei, could this Long Outyen really have nothing to do with Huang Wuji's death? Xing Jun sent a telepathic message to Lei Qianjue. I'm sure that he must have killed Huang Wuji. I once went to the mythical space to investigate and also found a few disciples of the Thunder Hall to confirm it. Ling Xiao did enter Divine Cloud Valley, and after Zhan Tianxing left, Huang Wuji died. The place where he died still has Zhan Tianxing's aura. Long Outyen must have killed Huang Wuji and then framed Zhan Tianxing. He pretends that nothing happened. I'll see if he can still smile later. Lei Qianjue sneered, a trace of cold murderous intent in his eyes. Ling Xiao had just scolded him and Zhan Tianxing, but he could not vent his anger. His heart was filled with anger, and his hatred for Ling Xiao deepened. Therefore, he could not wait for Ling Xiao to be unlucky. When that happened, Ling Xiao would definitely die, and the flipping sky seal on him would definitely be handed over to Zhan Tianxing. That's right. Under the Sacred Heart Inquisition, everything that happened in Divine Cloud Valley will be clear as day. Xing Jun nodded and said. Everyone's eyes fell on Ling Xiao and Zhan Tianxing, and they all had different expressions. At this moment, the many disciples of the War God Hall, whether inner disciples or true disciples, were full of admiration and sympathy for Ling Xiao, and glared at Huang Tai and the others. They even thought that even if Ling Xiao killed Huang Wuji, they had to find a way to protect Ling Xiao. The War God Hall needed such a disciple, and they could not let the 9 imperial gates deal with him. Lu Wenjing, Tiangang, and the others' eyes were filled with worry, but they could not do anything at this moment. Although they believed in Ling Xiao, they did not know how Ling Xiao could get through this. The Sacred Heart Inquisition, these 4 words were too heavy, and they could not relax at all. Boom! The light around Huang Tai was dazzling, and in an instant, a sacred path light pillar shot up into the sky, containing the vast power of the great path origin, and the sky began to tremble violently. Lightning flashed, and purple thunderbolts intertwined. At this moment, Huang Tai seemed to have transformed into a celestial emperor who controlled thunder, and his whole body exuded a majestic and mysterious aura. Above Huang Tai's head, a purple fruit of the way floated, exuding a strange fragrance as dazzling as a purple sun. Thunder fruit of the way? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply. Huang Tai had condensed the thunder fruit of the way, so he could control the power of thunder. Boom! At this moment, the white-clothed war god's body also exuded a dazzling divine glow. Above her head, there seemed to be a golden sun, sprinkling down brilliant flames, exuding an incomparably hot light, enveloping her entire body, making her look like a sun god at this moment. This is the burning sky fruit condensed by the burning sky sacred technique. Ling Xiao recognized the aura fluctuations on the white-clothed war god's body. The two fruits of the way were dazzling, like two suns hanging high in the sky, and the mighty aura of the sacred path descended, instantly enveloping Ling Xiao and Zhan Tianxing. In an instant, Ling Xiao felt that he could not move, and the vast aura of the sacred path rushed directly to his primordial spirit, wanting to explore the deepest memories in his heart. The so-called Sacred Heart Inquisition was a saint using the power of the sacred path to interrogate the heart and extract memories. After accepting the Sacred Heart Inquisition, the whole person would be exposed in front of the saint, and there would be no more secrets. This method of Sacred Heart Inquisition was gentler, and not as cruel as the demon clan's soul-searching technique. It had no effect on warriors and existed only to verify some things. Chapter 1692. Ling Zhao's heart was calm, and his primordial spirit was clear and flawless. There was no resistance, and the two saint path auras easily entered the deepest part of Ling Zhao's heart. But even the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai did not notice that Ling Zhao's heart realm had silently spread out. Their saint path consciousness had entered Ling Zhao's heart realm. Ling Xiao guarded his mind and only let go of the memories related to Huang Wuji in Divine Cloud Valley, so the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai only saw the scene in Divine Cloud Valley. A light screen appeared above the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai, showing Zhan Tianxing and Long Outyen's memories of Divine Cloud Valley. Zhan Tianxing's memories were very simple. Zhan Tianxing had been cultivating in Divine Cloud Valley, absorbing the tribulation chi in Divine Cloud Valley, and finally condensing the immortal calamity seed. Everyone saw Zhan Tianxing use the immortal calamity seed to break the formation outside Divine Cloud Palace, enter Divine Cloud Valley, and meet Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao changed his name to Hu Qing, and then started the battle between Zhan Tianxing and Thunder Spirit King. In the end, Zhan Tianxing and Thunder Spirit King were both injured, and Zhan Tianxing fled Divine Cloud Valley. I didn't expect this. Junior brother Long is so brave and cunning. Even senior brother Zhan Tianxing was fooled by him. Hu Qing from Thunder Hall? I'm dying of laughter. Yeah, I didn't expect junior brother Long to subdue Thunder Spirit King like this. Zhan Tianxing is so sad. He worked for junior brother Long for nothing. When the crowd saw Zhan Tianxing's pathetic state, their eyes widened and they couldn't help but laugh. Lei Qinjue's face was pale. Ling Xiao played Zhan Tianxing like this, which made him feel ashamed. But Zhan Tianxing's memories were very simple. Everyone saw Zhan Tianxing leave Divine Cloud Valley, recover from his injuries in a secret realm, and return to the sect. He did not fight with Huang Wuji. It seems that Huang Wuji was not killed by Zhan Tianxing. I'm afraid junior brother Long's memories are the key. Everyone could not help but tremble, and began to look carefully at Ling Zhao's memories. Inside Divine Cloud Valley, Ling Xiao and Dugu Qiubai entered Divine Cloud Valley together. Under the pursuit of the Thunder Spirit King, they accidentally entered Divine Cloud Palace, where they met the Thunder Spirit King. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to accept the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition was because he understood the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition. He knew that the Saint Dao Heart Inquisition was different from the Soul Search as it directly interrogated the heart. Ling Xiao cultivated the Great Void Heart Talisman scripture and condensed the heart world. The Great Void Heart Talisman scripture had reached the peak of the 5th level and was only one step away from breaking through to the prominent divine stage. In Ling Xiao's mind realm, it could be said to be ever-changing according to his will. What the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai saw was what Ling Xiao wanted them to see. They were all memories after Ling Xiao's modification, so Huang Tai was destined to be disappointed. Ling Xiao hid what he had gained from the Divine Firmament Palace. He only recorded a portion of his memories, including the test that the Thunder Spirit King gave them when he disguised himself as an artifact spirit, the dispute with Huang Wuji midway, and even the battle between Zhan Tianxing and the Thunder Spirit King under the guise of Hu Qing. Naturally, Ling Xiao did not change the part that involved Zhan Tianxing, because the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai could also see this part of the memory in Zhan Tianxing's memory. The most crucial part was modified by Ling Xiao. The white-clothed war god and Huang Tai both saw that after Zhan Tianxing and the Thunder Spirit King were both injured, the Thunder Spirit King became extremely weak. Ling Xiao took advantage of this and wanted to kill the Thunder Spirit King. The Thunder Spirit King had no choice but to recognize Ling Xiao as his master. The Thunder Spirit King became extremely weak. After Ling Xiao and the Thunder Spirit King left the Divine Firmament Palace, they happened to meet Huang Wuji, who was wantonly killing the Thunder Spirits. Huang Wuji chased after Ling Xiao and the Thunder Spirit King, but Ling Xiao was no match for them and escaped. However, in Ling Xiao's memory, there was a figure of a Ghost Devil Clan expert who quietly sneaked towards Huang Wuji. Wuji really wasn't killed by him? That's the aura of the Ghost Devil Clan? I don't believe it. How could the Ghost Devil Clan know how to frame Zhan Tianxing? There must be a conspiracy behind this. When Huang Tai saw this, he was shocked and angry. At the same time, he was extremely unwilling to accept this. He had already determined that Ling Xiao killed Huang Wuji, but now that he suddenly found out that Ling Xiao wasn't the real culprit, he couldn't accept this psychological gap. Therefore, he chose to continue to interrogate Ling Xiao's mind and check his memories. After that, Ling Xiao and Dugu Qiubai separated. In order to obtain enough Calamity Chi and the Thunder Spirit King, Ling Xiao went to the Red Lotus Valley and encountered the Ghost Devil Clan experts who enslaved the human clan. When they were collecting the Red Lotus Fire and Calamity Chi, Ling Xiao used a scheme to steal the Calamity Chi and directly condensed the indestructible Calamity Seed. He even framed Huang Wuji. This part of the memory was all real. Ling Xiao didn't make any changes. This was because Ling Xiao knew that the 9 Imperial Obelisk must have investigated everything that happened in the Red Lotus Valley, including the part where Ling Xiao framed Huang Wuji. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't make any changes. As the saying goes, the more you do, the more mistakes you make. Ling Xiao only made some changes in key areas. He changed the memory of him killing Huang Wuji to the memory of him being chased by Huang Wuji and then escaping from the Divine Cloud Valley. As for the other parts, they were all real. Even Ling Xiao almost believed this memory that was both real and fake, let alone the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai. Naturally, they couldn't see any flaws. They thought that what they saw was Ling Xiao's most authentic memory. How could they know that Ling Xiao cultivated the Great Void Rune Scripture? Ling Xiao left the Red Lotus Valley and returned to the War God Temple through the Shangqing Ancient City. Buzz. In the void, the white-clothed war god and Huang Tai's Dao fruits slowly dissipated. The vast divine path aura disappeared, and Ling Xiao and Zhan Tianxing's divine path interrogation also ended. Both of their eyes were filled with doubt and confusion. The only difference was that Zhan Tianxing was really confused, while Ling Xiao was completely pretending. Ha! I told you, Huang Wuji wasn't killed by Junior Brother Long. Now everything is clear. That's right. I think that arrogant and despotic Huang Wuji was most likely killed by the experts of the Ghost Devil Clan. I didn't expect that the matter in the Red Lotus Valley was actually done by Junior Brother Long. Junior Brother Long can be considered a great hero of our human race. Even the disciples of the 9 Imperial Obelisk were saved by Junior Brother Long. But the 9 Imperial Obelisk repaid kindness with enmity and turned around to denounce Junior Brother Long. This is too much. After reading Ling Xiao and Zhang Tianxing's memories, everyone was almost boiling. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. Ling Xiao wasn't the real murderer of Huang Wuji, and that was enough. This stinking brat. Lu Wenjing also laughed. The big stone in his heart finally fell to the ground. Although he worried for nothing, he was also incomparably happy. Chapter 1693. How is this possible? Lei Qianjue, Zhang Tianxing, Xing Jun, and the others' faces darkened. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They did not expect that Ling Xiao was not the one who killed Huang Wuji. Based on Ling Xiao's memories, Huang Wuji was most likely killed by the Ghost Demon clan. They did not suspect that Ling Xiao was lying. After all, the god of war and Huang Tai had both performed the Heart Inquisition. Even Lei Qianjue himself could not have faked it, let alone Ling Xiao. Therefore, he believed that Ling Xiao's memories must be real. However, they could not accept this result. Impossible. This is impossible. How could the Ghost Demon Clan's experts enter Divine Cloud Valley? Huang Wuji was killed by Long Outyin. Why is it not in his memories? Zhang Tianxing mumbled to himself in a daze. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and madness. If they could confirm that Long Outyin was Huang Wuji's murderer, they could pressure him to hand Long Outyin over to Huang Tai. That way, Long Outyin's flipping sky seal would naturally be handed over to Zhang Tianxing. However, everything that happened before his eyes had ruined all of Zhang Tianxing's plans. Elder Huang Tai, you've seen the results of the Heart Inquisition. Huang Wuji's murderer is neither Zhang Tianxing nor Long Outyin. The god of war in white looked at Huang Tai calmly. His voice was ethereal. Huang Tai's face darkened. After all, he was almost certain that Long Outyin was the murderer. The results were beyond his expectations. However, he was a saint after all. His expression returned to normal. He looked at Ling Xiao coldly and said, Long Outyin, my suspicions were wrong. You're not the murderer. I apologize. Huang Tai apologized to Ling Xiao. The people of the War God Temple were slightly shocked. Then they became excited. Huang Tai was the Grand Elder of the 9 Imperial Gates, a saint. Now that he had apologized to Long Outyin, it was definitely a piece of good news for the War God Temple. Everyone could feel that the depression from before was completely swept away. Ling Xiao looked at Huang Tai calmly and said, Since you know you're wrong, I accept your apology. However, please keep your eyes open in the future and don't be so impulsive. If you implicate the innocent, wouldn't it damage your reputation and the Imperial Obelisk's reputation? Little friend Long is indeed courageous. The younger generation will surpass us in time. This old man will remember you. Huang Tai said as he looked at Ling Xiao. The purple-robed middle-aged man and the arrogant young man behind Huang Tai were about to explode from anger. Their eyes were filled with rage and killing intent as they looked at Long Outyin. Huang Tai was their ancestor. They felt extremely humiliated when they saw Huang Tai apologizing to Long Outyin. The purple-robed middle-aged man suddenly stood up and stared at Ling Xiao as he said coldly, I'm Huang Yu, a guardian elder of the Imperial Obelisk. Long Outyin, even though you weren't the one who killed Huang Wuji, his death is related to you. I have a few questions for you to answer. Ling Xiao casually shot a glance at Huang Yu and said, You all saw it too. Huang Wuji wasn't killed by me. That's enough. I don't have the obligation to answer your questions. If you have any questions, investigate them yourself. Ling Xiao's attitude seemed to have infuriated Huang Yu. His eyes turned cold as he said, Long Outyin, watch your attitude. Even though you didn't kill Huang Wuji, you can't get away with his death. Don't test my patience. Who do you think you are? Do you have the right to question me here? This is the War God Shrine, not your Imperial Obelisk. If you want to throw your weight around, go back to your Imperial Obelisk. What kind of ability is it to embarrass yourself here? If you continue to speak rudely, believe it or not, I'll kill you. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He had long been impatient with the people of the Imperial Obelisk. Huang Tai was a saint, so he could still tolerate it. However, who was this Huang Yu? How dare he order people around? Kill me? Pa. Very good. I'm standing right here. Come and kill me if you can. You're just a divine king ant. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Huang Yu laughed angrily. Terrifying saint aura filled the air, causing the void to tremble. He was a peak expert of the 9th Revolution half-step saint realm. He was only one step away from becoming a saint. Normally, he wielded great power in the Imperial 9 Imperial Gates. Even the disciples of the Imperial Gates didn't dare to act presumptuously in front of him. Long Aotian, who was only a divine king, had thoroughly infuriated him. Uncle, he's just an ant. Why do you need to take action? I'll teach him a lesson for you. The arrogant young man next to Huang Yu stared at Ling Xiao. His eyes were like a wolf's, filled with cold, killing intent. Shut up. Huang Tai stopped Huang Yu and the arrogant young man. He then looked at the white-clothed war god and said, War god, I do have a few questions. I need little friend Long to answer them. Please allow me. The white-clothed war god glanced at Huang Tai and said calmly, I can let Long Outyin answer your questions. However, you should know that Long Outyin doesn't have this obligation. If he answers your questions, you have to pay a Dao comprehending divine pill. Dao comprehending divine pill? You're asking for too much. Don't even think about it. Before Huang Tai could speak, Huang Yu's face suddenly changed and he screamed. How dare you? The white-clothed war god scolded softly. His voice was like thunder, containing a vast and mysterious power. It directly blasted on Huang Yu's chest. Huang Yu's body trembled and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura instantly became extremely weak. War God's cultivation is getting more and more unfathomable. However, isn't it too degrading for you to argue with a junior? Huang Tai's face was a little ugly. The white-clothed war god's simple attack just now had caused Huang Yu to be severely injured. He didn't even have time to stop it. This shocked him and made him feel ashamed. Saints can't be humiliated. The white-clothed war god said lightly. Huang Tai's eyes changed slightly. He nodded and said nothing more. The white-clothed war god was right. In the divine realm, saints represented the enlightenment of all living beings. Their words were law. They were supreme existences that were compatible with the origin of the great Tao. They couldn't be humiliated. Just based on Huang Yu's words, the white-clothed war god had no problem killing him. It could be seen that the white-clothed war god was still merciful. I didn't expect the war god to take a fancy to my Dao comprehending divine pill? Very well. Then, as the war god said, a Dao comprehending divine pill for one question. Huang Tai glanced at the white-clothed war god and pondered for a moment. Finally, he nodded and agreed. The war god supreme's means are still too gentle. Ling Xiao couldn't help but shake his head. He felt a little disappointed with the war god supreme. Junior brother, the war god supreme is not giving in. You don't understand his forbearance now. You will understand in the future. However, the Dao comprehending divine pill is a good thing. I feel that the war god supreme asked for it for you. Chapter 1694. The Enlightenment Divine Elixir is indeed a good thing. Ling Xiao nodded. He had also heard of the Enlightenment Divine Elixir. It was a supreme elixir that could help a complete divine king to comprehend the origin of the holy path and the true meaning of the great path. However, this elixir recipe was very precious and only some powerful alchemists had it. Huang Tai was the alchemy saint of the 9 imperial gates. He had the recipe for the Enlightenment Divine Elixir. The reason why he was respected in the 9 imperial gates was not because of his cultivation, but because of his identity as the alchemy saint. Long Outyin, answer Huang Tai's questions. All the Enlightenment Divine Elixir is yours. However, you don't have to answer any questions. You're right. This is the War God Temple. You don't have to be afraid of him. The voice of the white-clothed war god suddenly rang in Ling Zhao's mind. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed slightly and he nodded. Long Outyin, my first question is that the Divine Cloud Valley contains the power of the Thunder Calamity. The ghost demons are most afraid of the thunder calamity fire. Why would a ghost demon appear in the Divine Cloud Valley? Huang Tai asked Ling Xiao. The Divine Cloud Valley does contain the power of the Thunder Tribulation, but not every Ghost Devil clan is afraid of the power of the Thunder Tribulation. You have seen it in my memory. I was once chased by a Ghost Devil clan expert. In my opinion, he is most likely the remnant soul of the great Devil Saint of the Ghost Devil clan. Therefore, I'm afraid that Huang Wuji has died in his hands. Ling Xiao answered calmly. Although he was talking nonsense, he had secretly operated the Taishu heart charm scripture. His state of mind was as calm as an ancient well. There was no change. This was because Ling Xiao felt that Huang Tai was observing his every move when he asked him the question. Ling Xiao looked very relaxed on the surface, but his heart was on high alert. Alright. Second question. What's the background of Dugu Qiubai with you? Huang Tai did not find anything wrong with Ling Xiao. He was slightly disappointed and immediately asked the second question. Dugu Qiubai? He's a friend I made in the divine space. I believe you've already investigated his identity. He's from the Hero Alliance. Although the Hero Alliance has a bad reputation in the divine realm, the 9 imperial gates should not interfere with who I befriend, right? Ling Xiao sneered. Huang Tai could not find anything wrong with Ling Xiao, so he shifted his attention to Dugu Qiubai. How could Ling Xiao not see through Huang Tai's intention? Dugu Qiubai is the young master of Hero Alliance. The Hero Alliance is a bunch of scum that betrayed the divine realm. They even colluded with the demon race. Everyone has the right to kill them. If you associate yourself with such people, I'm afraid it will damage the reputation of the War God Temple. Moreover, that Dugu Qiubai killed many disciples of the 9 imperial obelisk in the mythical space. He has already entered the 9 imperial obelisks must-kill list. Huang Tai said indifferently. Elder Huang Tai doesn't have to worry about that. Ling Xiao replied indifferently. Third question. You pretended to be Huang Wuji and ambushed the Red Lotus Valley, but you caused the Ghost Devil race to target the 9 imperial obelisk and killed countless disciples. How do you explain this? Huang Tai's eyes turned cold as he stared at Ling Xiao. There was a hint of questioning in his voice. Ling Xiao thought to himself. This was the easiest thing for the 9 imperial obelisk to attack. However, Ling Xiao's expression remained calm. He sneered and said, Elder Huang Tai, you've seen it for yourself. Huang Wuji hunted me down to snatch my treasures and inheritance. I, Long Outyen, am not a person who repays evil with good. To be honest, I pretended to be him and ambushed the Red Lotus Valley to take revenge on him. Is he allowed to hunt me down, but I'm not allowed to take revenge on him? What a joke! The consequence of your pretense is that you caused hundreds of disciples of the 9 imperial obelisk to die in the hands of the Ghost Devil race. Do you know your crime? Huang Yu also shouted coldly. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Don't act like you're interrogating a criminal. Who do you think you are? Elder Huang Tai, I've answered all 3 questions. Leave the Enlightenment Divine Elixir and leave. The War God Temple does not welcome you. Ling Xiao sneered coldly. Huang Tai and Huang Yu were furious, but they couldn't vent their anger. Although Ling Xiao had impersonated Huang Wuji, Ling Xiao really didn't kill Huang Wuji. This caused them to be without a valid reason, and they had no reason to denounce Ling Xiao. That's right. Huang Tai, the War God Temple does not welcome you. Get lost. Lu Wenjing sneered. He couldn't hold it in any longer. Huang Tai, Huang Yu, and the others' overbearing manner infuriated him. He wanted nothing more than to charge forward and fight with Huang Tai. If it were 1,000,000 years ago, he would have beaten Huang Tai to the point that even his mother wouldn't recognize him. 3 Enlightenment Divine Elixirs. Lord War God, please keep them well. Huang Tai's eyes regained their calmness. He waved his hand and a milky white jade bottle flew to the white-clothed war god. The white-clothed war god took the jade bottle and opened it. Immediately, a fragrance spread out, invigorating everyone who smelled it. He nodded and threw the 3 Enlightenment Divine Elixirs to Ling Xiao, saying, These are the Enlightenment Divine Elixirs. Aren't you going to thank Elder Huang Tai? Ling Xiao took it and smiled indifferently at the white-clothed war god, saying, "If you want to thank someone, you have to thank Lord War God. This is the reward I deserve. There's no need to thank anyone." Huang Tai took a deep look at Ling Xiao and waved his sleeve, saying, "Let's go." Huang Tai felt that he had lost all his face in this trip to the War God Temple. Unfortunately, he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he suppressed his anger. However, he could not stay in the War God Temple any longer, so he could only leave first. However, he had remembered Ling Xiao. He naturally had ways to deal with this kid in the future. Wait. At this moment, Ling Xiao's voice sounded. "What else do you want?" Huang Tai turned around and stared at Ling Xiao expressionlessly. "Elder Huang Tai, is the War God Temple a place where you can come and go as you please?" Ling Xiao looked straight at Huang Tai and said in a clear voice. Everyone was stunned. Shouldn't this matter be resolved? What did Long Outyen want to do? He actually stopped Elder Huang Tai. This was the prelude to causing trouble. For some reason, everyone in the War God Temple was a little excited. Even the white-clothed war god had a strange look in his eyes. "Don't tell me you want to keep me here?" Huang Tai's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Ling Xiao. The terrifying aura around him was hidden, rumbling like thunder. He was completely enraged. The War God Temple can't be humiliated. As a disciple of the War God Temple, I don't care about my own honor or disgrace. However, you guys are humiliating my War God Temple by denouncing me. I, Ling Xiao, swear that I will seek justice for those who humiliate my War God Temple. Elder Huang Tai, do you dare to fight me? Chapter 1695. Elder Huang Tai, do you dare to accept my challenge? Ling Xiao's voice reverberated throughout the mountain, silencing everyone. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Who was Elder Huang Tai? He was the saint ancestral patriarch of the 9 imperial gates. He had become a saint hundreds of thousands of years ago. His cultivation was unfathomable and no one knew what level he had reached. Ling Xiao was only a perfected divine king. He was more than a dozen levels lower than Elder Huang Tai. How could he challenge Elder Huang Tai? Everyone felt as if they had heard wrongly. This was as laughable as an ant challenging a divine dragon. It made everyone feel as if they were in a dream. Long out, he's crazy. Zhan Tianxing's body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He's courting death. Does he really think he can be so arrogant just because he has the flipping sky seal? The flipping sky seal is powerful, but it's just a holy artifact. Lei Qinjue sneered. He looked at Ling Xiao as if he was looking at a fool. He immediately understood why Ling Xiao dared to challenge Huang Tai. It was because Ling Xiao had the flipping sky seal. However, Ling Xiao was only a divine king. No matter how powerful the flipping sky seal was, he could not even unleash 1/10,000th of its power. 1,000,000 years ago, before the Scarlet Dragon War God had proven his Tao and become a saint, he could use the cyclic sky seal to kill saints. At that time, the Scarlet Dragon War God was only a step away from proving his Tao and becoming one with the cyclic sky seal. Lei Qinjue did not think that Ling Xiao could unleash the flipping sky seal's power. Moreover, Huang Tai was a saint. It was not like he did not have a holy artifact. Since he wants to die, let's fulfill his wish. A saint should not be humiliated. Elder Huang Tai will not let him go. Xing Jun sneered. He felt that Ling Xiao was really courting death. Junior brother, don't be rash. Huang Tai is extremely powerful. You are no match for him even if you have the flipping sky seal. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. When you become a saint, you can kill him like a dog. Lu Wenjing also became anxious and hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Ling Xiao. Junior brother was too troublesome. Lu Wenjing thought that this was the end of the matter. He did not expect Ling Xiao to challenge Huang Tai's challenge. Lu Wenjing's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Junior brother Long is too fierce. Heavenly Dipper and the others widened their eyes, not knowing what to say. In the end, they could only laugh bitterly. Huang Tai's eyes were deep and indifferent, like the endless dark starry sky that could devour everything. He looked at Ling Xiao quietly. Although he was expressionless, everyone could feel that Huang Tai was like a volcano that was about to erupt at any time. You want to challenge me? Huang Tai's voice was very soft, but it contained a fluctuation that made people shudder. That's right. Those who humiliate the War God Temple will be killed. Although I, Long Outyen, am not talented, I am willing to use my life to defend the dignity of the War God Temple. Elder Huang Tai, even if I'm no match for you, I won't hesitate even if I have to bleed here today. Ling Zhao's voice was sonorous and forceful, like metal splitting the clouds. The reason why he dared to challenge Huang Tai was because of the flipping sky seal. Now that the Thunder Spirit King had become the weapon spirit of the flipping sky seal, Ling Xiao had completely refined the flipping sky seal and could unleash the strongest power of this supreme treasure. Now, the flipping sky seal alone was not enough. Most importantly, they were on War Mountain, where the holy path imprint of the past experts of the War God Temple was located. Ling Xiao had completely refined the flipping sky seal, which could resonate with the holy path. At that time, with the help of the holy path, he would be able to fight against a real saint. The War God Temple needed a great victory to ignite the fighting spirit in the hearts of the members of the War God Temple, to ignite the invincible heart that could conquer the heavens and the earth. If Huang Tai and the others left just like that, there would be no loss. However, this was not what Ling Xiao wanted. Ling Xiao wanted to use this battle to tell everyone that those who offended the War God Temple would be killed no matter how far they were. Before Huang Tai could say anything, the arrogant young man could not help but jump out. Long Outyen, who do you think you are? You want to challenge my ancestor? You are not qualified. If you have the guts, fight with me. I really want to see where you get your confidence from. The arrogant young man's eyes were blazing with killing intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. That's right. Long Outyen Huang Wudao is a peerless genius of the 9 imperial gates. As long as you don't use the flipping sky seal, you can't even defeat Huang Wudao. How dare you challenge my ancestor? You are overestimating yourself. Huang Yu sneered. However, he was also a scheming person. He had used his words to prevent Ling Xiao from using the flipping sky seal. After all, everyone knew how terrifying the flipping sky seal was. Even if Ling Xiao could not use the full power of the flipping sky seal, it should be easy for him to defeat Huang Wudao. Without the flipping sky seal, I can kill him in 3 moves. Ling Xiao sneered as his eyes shone with a sharp light. 3 moves? Huang Wudao was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. This was a great humiliation. Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the Great Divine King realm, while he was a 3-revolution half-saint. How dare Ling Xiao say that he could kill him in 3 moves? Ling Xiao did not take him seriously at all. Good. Very good. Long Outyen, you have successfully infuriated me. Don't worry, I won't kill you. However, I will cripple your cultivation and let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Huang Wudao was so angry that he laughed. The killing intent in his eyes was almost tangible. 3 moves? Isn't Long Outyen too careless? Even if he is talented without the flipping sky seal, how can he defeat Huang Wudao in 3 moves? I heard that Huang Wudao is extremely powerful. He is a 3-revolution half-saint and once killed a 4-revolution half-saint expert. Junior brother Long is too careless. Yes, he is too impulsive. The people of the War God Shrine shook their heads and sighed. Some of them looked disappointed. Originally, they thought that Long Outyen was unyielding, courageous. But now, it seemed that he was nothing more than a brute. Such a person might very well drag the War God Temple into the abyss of eternal damnation. Cut the crap. If you want to fight, let's fight. After I defeat you, I will be qualified to challenge Elder Huang Tai, right? Ling Xiao said indifferently. His eyes shone with blood-red divine light. The battle intent around him bloomed instantly, causing the surrounding sky to tremble violently. Let's talk about it after you defeat me. Huang Wudao's killing intent soared to the sky. In an instant, dazzling lightning radiance bloomed as he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. He had been suppressing his anger for a long time. At this moment, a terrifying saint aura erupted from his body. It was as if he had turned into a thunder saint, displaying the power of the lightning emperor technique. Chapter 1696. Huang Wudao was a pro-disciple of the 9 imperial gates. His talent was not any weaker than Huang Wuji's. At this moment, he displayed the Thunder Emperor technique. His body was surrounded by blazing lightning, controlling the wind and thunder in the sky. Above the fist print, there seemed to be a world of thunder blooming, enveloping Ling Xiao. In that world of thunder, a mysterious figure seemed to appear, exuding a monstrous emperor's aura that wanted to destroy everything. The real body of the Thunder Emperor? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Huang Wudao's Thunder Emperor technique had been cultivated to an extremely profound level. Condensing the real body of the Thunder Emperor had multiplied his strength. Kill! Ling Xiao shouted coldly. In an instant he soared into the sky. Blood qi filled the sky, exuding an immortal fluctuation. It was as if an immemorial divine beast had awakened from a deep sleep, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Furthermore, Ling Xiao's body also emitted rays of purple light. It was as if there was a purple sun above his chest, making him seem even more majestic and mysterious. That was Ling Xiao's indestructible calamity seed. Especially in the world of the flipping sky seal, Ling Xiao had swallowed an endless amount of calamity qi and polished the indestructible calamity seed to an extremely perfect state. It nourished himself and made his physical body stronger. It was several times stronger than before he entered the world of the flipping sky seal. Therefore, facing Huang Wudao, he only threw out a simple punch. Kacha! Streaks of chaotic light burst forth. Ling Xiao's punch was ancient and crude, facing the lightning that filled the sky. It was as if it was the hand of the heavens, directly exploding the vast lightning world. Then, it collided with the Thunder Emperor's true body. It was as if a small sun had exploded. An extremely terrifying divine light storm was set off in the sky. Ling Xiao displayed his strongest physical strength. The purple gas around him rose. When the lightning fell on his body, it actually produced the sound of metal clashing, causing the surrounding sky to tremble violently. Boom! The real body of the Thunder Emperor seemed to be unable to withstand the power of Ling Xiao's punch and suddenly exploded. Huang Wudao's expression changed drastically. He retreated rapidly. At the same time, his palms flew out. 2 blazing lightning dragons flew towards Ling Xiao. The dragon's roar shook the surroundings. However, under Ling Xiao's chaotic fist print, it was instantly annihilated. Huang Wudao was sent flying by an unparalleled divine force. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. His blood and qi churned, and dazzling runes bloomed on his chest as he was sent flying several thousand feet away. Damn it! Huang Wudao's eyes were gloomy, filled with shock and anger. He did not expect Ling Xiao's physical body to be so terrifying. Not only was his Thunder Emperor technique unable to hurt Ling Xiao's physical body, but even the Thunder Emperor real body was shattered by Ling Xiao's punch. The Lightning Emperor technique, which was said to be unparalleled in terms of offense, was actually so weak and powerless in front of Ling Xiao's physical body. The leakless real body. Huang Yu's entire body trembled as a trace of disbelief appeared in his eyes. The Tribulation's indestructible sacred technique was not just the #1 sacred technique of the War God Temple. Even the other immortal sacred grounds knew about it very well. It was even rumored that the Tribulation's indestructible sacred technique was an incomplete imperial scripture that contained the ultimate secrets of using strength to prove one's Tao. However, the indestructible sacred technique was extremely difficult to cultivate. The first stage was to condense the indestructible calamity seed. Then, with the seed as the foundation, one would continuously devour the tribulation aura to refine one's body until it was flawless and formed the leakless real body. The legendary leakless real body was so strong that it could form its own small world. It could even fight against a peak half-saint. The next step of the leakless real body was to be reborn from a drop of blood. As long as there was a drop of flesh left, one could be resurrected. This was comparable to a powerful saint. After all, saints controlled the origin of the great Tao. Their words were law. However, not every saint could reach the realm of rebirth from a drop of blood. As for the indestructible sacred technique, it was said that as long as one could reach the realm of rebirth from a drop of blood, one's body would become a saint. It's not the leakless real body yet. However, his indestructible calamity seed is complete. It's only a matter of time before he breaks through to the leakless real body. This kid, his physical talent is too strong. Huang Tai's eyes also revealed a trace of solemnity. Ling Xiao had shattered the Thunder Emperor's true body with a single punch and forced Huang Wudao to retreat. This was a feat that amazed many War God Temple disciples and elders. Perhaps junior brother Long wasn't boasting. He really might be able to kill Huang Wudao in 3 moves. A thought appeared in someone's mind. The leakless real body. The leakless real body? If junior brother can really condense the leakless real body before he reaches the half-saint realm, then it's not impossible for his body to become a saint. Lu Wenjing's heart trembled violently. He suddenly thought of a possibility and began to tremble all over. In the God realm, although there were thousands of paths to the divine path and everyone could comprehend their own divine path, there were 4 types of divine paths: physical sanctification, great path law sanctification, primordial spirit sanctification, and heart sanctification. Among the 4 types of divine paths, the most common were the great path law sanctification and the primordial spirit sanctification. Heart sanctification had its own special restrictions and required special cultivation methods. Therefore, there were not many who could become heart sanctification. Most of them were eminent monks of Buddhism. Physical sanctification was the most difficult, but it was also the strongest. Physical sanctification was said to be invincible among those of the same level. If the heavens and earth were destroyed, one would not be destroyed. If the heavens collapsed, one's physical body would not be destroyed. However, even the monster race and the demon race, who claimed to have the strongest physical bodies, found it difficult to achieve physical sanctification. It was even more difficult for the human race. There might not even be one physical sanctification in 1,000,000 years. The first move. Ling Xiao looked at Huang Wudao and said calmly. In Huang Wudao's eyes, Ling Xiao's calm attitude was simply disregard and contempt. Huang Wudao's face turned red and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Long Outyen, do you really think that you can kill me in 3 moves? Arrogant. Today, I'll let you experience what a true supreme holy technique is. Huang Wudao's eyes were blazing with killing intent. He roared and suddenly exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. His aura began to soar as he charged towards Ling Xiao. Heavenly Emperor's sacrificial art. Kill, kill, kill. Huang Wudao's qi and blood seemed to be burning. His essence, qi, and spirit had reached an extreme. There seemed to be a rising sun and moon in his eyes. A blurry figure appeared behind him. Although the face could not be seen clearly, it was emitting a power that made one's heart tremble. Huang Wudao and the chaotic figure fused together in an instant. Their aura skyrocketed and surpassed the limit of the 3rd revolution half-saint realm in an instant. It rose to the peak of the 6th revolution half-saint realm before it stopped. Whoosh! Chapter 1697. It's the Heavenly Emperor's sacrificial art? Junior brother Long is in danger. Cheng Ying, who was watching the battle, couldn't help but change his expression. His eyes were filled with solemnity. Senior sister Cheng, what is the Heavenly Emperor's sacrificial art? Is it very powerful? A disciple asked in confusion. I'm sure you've heard of the Heavenly Emperor. He's the leader of the 9 emperors of the human race. He once established the ancient heavenly court and led the human race to conquer the heavens and realms. The 9-layered imperial obelisk claimed to have inherited the ancient heavenly court, so it naturally obtained some of the ancient heavenly court's saint techniques. The Heavenly Emperor sacrificial art is said to have been created by the Heavenly Emperor. It allows one to sacrifice one's blood essence, primordial spirit, and even life to obtain great power. Huang Wudao is qualified to cultivate the Heavenly Emperor's sacrificial art. Although he only sacrificed part of his blood essence, it allowed him to temporarily possess the combat strength of a peak 6th Revolution half-saint. I'm afraid Junior Brother Long is no match for him. Cheng Ying explained with a wry smile. His face was filled with worry. In the face of Huang Wudao's attack, Ling Zhao's eyes remained calm. His gaze became deeper and deeper. Chaotic mist filled the air around him, making him look even more ethereal and mysterious. Boom! Huang Wudao's finger contained a sharpness that could pierce through everything. In an instant, it pierced between Ling Zhao's brows, directly turning him into a fine powder. Huang Wudao's face didn't have the slightest trace of joy. His eyes flashed. He didn't know when Ling Zhao had escaped from his target, but he had only killed an afterimage. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Above the void, chaotic chi rose, and in an instant, countless figures of Ling Zhao appeared. Each figure looked incomparably real, exuding a powerful chi and blood fluctuation. Even Huang Wudao could not tell which one was Ling Zhao's real body. Break! Huang Wudao's eyes revealed a cruel look. His saint aura was vast and unparalleled. His palms swept across the sky, blotting out the sun and shrouding all the afterimages in the sky. Since he couldn't find Ling Zhao's real body, he might as well not search for it. He would just kill all of them. Rumble! The sky trembled as Ling Zhao's silhouettes shattered one by one. A divine light storm was set off in the void. However, Huang Wudao suddenly felt a sense of danger rising in his heart. Without thinking, he threw a punch behind him. The fist imprint was unparalleled, containing the power to crush everything. Ling Zhao was indeed behind Huang Wudao. His entire body was shrouded in dazzling divine light as he sent a slap towards Huang Wudao's face. "You're courting death." Huang Wudao's face darkened. He did not think that Ling Zhao would dare to look down on him. Ling Zhao actually wanted to slap his face with this palm. He simply did not put him in his eyes at all. Could it be that he really thought that he could withstand this punch of his? Huang Wudao decided to ignore Ling Zhao's attack. Instead, the fist imprint shone brightly, as though it was emitting beams of divine light that could pierce through everything, blasting towards Ling Zhao's heart. His speed was extremely fast. Even if Ling Zhao's palm landed on his face, his punch was enough to kill Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao's expression was very calm. A strange light flickered in his eyes as he softly spat out a word. Freeze! It was as though a saint's words were law. In an instant, Ling Zhao's body emitted a strange fluctuation. The void from all directions pressed towards Huang Wudao. Suddenly, Huang Wudao's body trembled, and he actually stopped in the void. Although it was only a breath's time, Huang Wudao instantly broke through the sealing force and continued to attack Ling Zhao. However, a breath's time was enough to do a lot of things. Slap. Ling Zhao dodged Huang Wudao's punch with incomparable ease. Then he slapped Huang Wudao's face directly. Everyone in the War God Temple heard that clear and melodious voice. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Boom! Half of Huang Wudao's face was instantly smashed. Ling Zhao's palm contained a terrifying physical strength. Even a mountain could be smashed into powder, let alone Huang Wudao. Huang Wudao screamed as his entire body flew out. He directly smashed into a sturdy mountain in the distance, causing the mountain to shake and rumble. Huang Wudao's crushing defeat made everyone feel baffled when they saw it. Huang Wudao was clearly unstoppable and wanted to kill Ling Zhao with a punch. However, for some reason Ling Zhao dodged it and sent him flying with a slap. What a painful slap to the face. It was as though Huang Wudao had stopped for a moment and forcefully moved his face closer to Ling Zhao's palm. This was too strange. Long Outyin, you're courting death. How dare you use the power of the flipping sky seal? Huang Yu was instantly enraged. His eyes were extremely gloomy, and his entire body was filled with cold, killing intent. It was as though he wanted to attack Ling Zhao. Huang Yu could also feel that a mysterious force had been released. It had actually sealed Huang Wudao for a breath's time, resulting in Huang Wudao's crushing defeat. In his opinion, only the flipping sky seal could do that. Stop. He didn't use the power of the flipping sky seal. Huang Tai stopped Huang Yu, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Old ancestor, if he didn't use the power of the flipping sky seal, how could he have defeated Huang Wudao? This brat is clearly not keeping his word. Huang Yu suddenly became anxious. He really didn't use the power of the flipping sky seal, but the power of time. Lord God of War, I didn't expect this disciple of the War God Temple to be so well hidden. He actually knows how to control the power of time. Could he be a spy of the space-time heavenly gate? Huang Tai said slowly, and then glanced at the white-clothed God of War. Although Huang Tai couldn't see that Ling Xiao was cultivating the time of time, he was a saint who controlled the origin of great ways. Naturally, he could feel that the power of time that had just burst out from Ling Xiao's body had caused Huang Wudao to stagnate for a breath, resulting in such a crushing defeat. That's his own opportunity. As long as the disciples of the War God Temple are loyal to the War God Temple, they are free to cultivate whatever martial arts they want. The white-clothed God of War said calmly, but his eyes became brighter as he looked at Ling Xiao. Lord God of War is really open-minded. Huang Tai snorted coldly, and his expression returned to indifference. Huang Wudao rushed up from the mountain in an instant, and a majestic vitality erupted from his body. Soon, his injuries were healed, but his handsome face became extremely distorted. He stared at Ling Xiao as if he wanted to eat him. Long Outyen, you are despicable and shameless. I will kill you. Chapter 1698. Huang Wudao was slapped in the face by Ling Xiao in front of everyone in the War God Shrine. He was humiliated and furious, and he hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. This was a great humiliation to him, and he had to take Ling Xiao's life to wash it off. It's been 2 moves. Huang Wudao, this is the last move. I'll make you admit defeat wholeheartedly. Ling Xiao said flatly, and the sharpness in his eyes became even more dazzling. Dream on. Long Outyen, I'll kill you. Huang Wudao roared. In an instant, terrifying sacred light filled the air around him, and streaks of lightning intertwined. He clenched his fist, and a purple war saber appeared in the void, exuding a monstrous sharpness. He pushed the energy around him to the extreme, and the saber slashed down towards Ling Xiao. It was as though the heavens and earth were split into 2 by the saber, and the blazing saber light illuminated everyone's faces. As for the purple saber, it exuded a vast saintly aura, as if it was the saber of the Thunder Emperor. It contained the original power of the Thunder Way, which could crush the heavens and shatter the earth. The purple war saber was a flawless holy treasure. Despicable! You didn't let junior brother Long use the flipping sky seal, so why did Huang Wudao use a flawless holy treasure? The disciples of the War God Shrine were enraged, and their eyes were filled with anger. Shameless! Damn it, this bastard is shameless. He's even more shameless than me. I really want to kick his face. Black Donkey also opened his eyes wide and cursed. Don't be afraid. It's not like junior brother Long doesn't have a flawless holy treasure. Huang Wudao will lose for sure. Tiangang sneered. At this moment, all the disciples of the War God Shrine were united against a common enemy. They hated Huang Wudao, and they were eager for Ling Xiao to create a miracle and defeat Huang Wudao. Huang Tai, you actually gave the ruling heavenly saber to Huang Wudao. You're really something. Lu Wenjing said as he stared at Huang Tai. Lu Wenjing recognized the heavenly blade of judgment in Huang Wudao's hand. It was Huang Tai's sword, and it even contained a trace of Huang Tai's power of the divine path. It was extremely powerful. Huang Tai said indifferently, I've already given the heavenly blade of adjudication to Huang Wudao. It's now his natal treasure. Apart from the flipping sky seal, we didn't say that we can't use other holy treasures, right? Shameless. Lu Wenjing snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with worry. He did not know if Ling Xiao could handle the judgment heavenly blade. Rumble. The The blade slashed down at Ling Xiao. The blade contained a power that could destroy everything, causing Ling Xiao to feel a strong sense of threat. It could be said that Huang Wudao's blade was not Huang Wudao's own power at all. Instead, the heavenly blade of judgment contained the will of Huang Tai, the power of the divine path. It was as if Ling Xiao's opponent had suddenly changed to Huang Tai. It turned out that this was Huang Tai's killing move. Ling Xiao's eyes were as cold as iron. He still stood there as if he did not see the heavenly blade of judgment coming down at him. However, there was a vast and unparalleled deathly aura behind Ling Xiao, causing the sky to shake violently in an instant. "Get lost!" Ling Xiao roared, and a palm slammed down toward Huang Wudao. The aura of death and life intertwined around Ling Xiao. It seemed to form the shadow of 3,000 worlds behind him, giving his palm an unparalleled divine power. In an instant, Ling Xiao's power skyrocketed, surpassing the aura of the Divine King realm and reaching the peak of the Half-Saint realm. Then, he slapped the heavenly blade of judgment fiercely. Behind Ling Xiao, there seemed to be an incomparably mysterious figure appearing. The heavenly blade of judgment trembled violently, and the blade light that filled the sky suddenly exploded. Ling Xiao's palm seemed to be able to open up the cycle of life and death. Even the heavenly blade of judgment could not withstand the power of the palm. It trembled and was sent flying. Ling Xiao's palm landed on Huang Wudao's chest, and a huge bloody hole immediately appeared. Huang Wudao was directly smashed into pieces, exploding into a bloody mist in the void. Huang Wudao screamed miserably. His primordial spirit escaped from his body in an instant. His eyes were filled with horror as he fled towards Huang Tai. "Ancestor, save me!" Huang Wudao roared, his voice trembling violently. At this moment, Ling Xiao's palm did not slow down, and it was still heading towards Huang Wudao. Boom! At this moment, Huang Tai's eyes flashed. He immediately waved his sleeve, and a purple light rose, blocking Ling Xiao's palm. Then, he took Huang Wudao's primordial spirit into his sleeve. Can't the old bear it after hitting the young one? The genius disciple of the 9 imperial gates is nothing more than this. Ling Xiao said with a cold smile. He looked at Huang Tai with disdain. "Long Outyen, there's a holy Dao energy in your body. That's the Thunder Spirit King, right? You defeated Huang Wudao with the Thunder Spirit King's strength. It's not your own strength. Are you proud?" Huang Tai said expressionlessly. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. He had already seen that the heavenly blade of judgment was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao could not withstand it at all, but at the last moment his body erupted with the strength of the peak of the Half-Saint realm. Not only did it send the heavenly blade of judgment flying, it even destroyed Huang Wudao's body. The strength of the peak of the Half-Saint realm naturally came from the Thunder Spirit King. Ling Xiao sneered and said, "What a joke! You can leave your strength in the heavenly blade of judgment, but it's not Huang Wudao's own strength. Why can't I use the strength of the Thunder Spirit King? If I only use my own strength, I can kill him like a dog. How dare you?" Huang Yu's face turned cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. Huang Wudao's defeat was like a slap to their faces by Ling Xiao. It made Huang Yu burn with rage. He could not wait to kill Ling Xiao. "You're the one who's being presumptuous. Elder Huang Tai, Huang Wudao has been defeated. I should be qualified to challenge you now, right?" Ling Xiao scolded Huang Yu, then looked at Huang Tai and said indifferently. Seeing that Ling Xiao wanted to challenge Huang Tai, the people of the War God Temple were filled with admiration. Their blood was boiling. The people of the 9 imperial obelisk were defeated in the War God Temple. It made them feel that their prestige had increased. At this moment, no one dared to look down on Ling Xiao anymore. Ling Xiao used the battle with Huang Wudao to prove his current strength. He also won everyone's respect. Even many of the true disciples of the War God Temple were impressed by Ling Xiao. "Very good. Long Outyen, since you want to challenge me, I'll fulfill your wish. However, I don't want to bully the weak. How about we still limit it to 3 moves?" Huang Tai took a deep look at Ling Xiao, then lowered his eyelids and said expressionlessly. On the other hand, Huang Yu's entire body trembled. He knew that Ling Xiao had finally angered the old ancestor. The old ancestor was truly enraged. Ling Xiao's repeated provocations had finally caused Huang Tai to disregard everything and attack. Chapter 1699. Alright, let's limit it to 3 moves. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, they were filled with a strong desire to fight. At this moment, the white-clothed war god looked at Huang Tai calmly and said, "Elder Huang Tai, with your cultivation and status, if you fight with Long Outyin, you will inevitably be suspected of bullying the weak. Why don't you let me fight with you for a few moves?" Everyone could not help but be shocked. The war god was going to fight? The war god supreme in front of them was extremely mysterious. Although he had proven his Tao for several 100,000 years, he had never casually taken action. Normally, he would be in seclusion in the war god temple, so no one knew what level his cultivation had reached. Since the war god is interested, I will be happy to accompany you. Huang Tai's eyes flashed as he said faintly. He had to admit that the white-clothed war god's proposal made him a little tempted. Although the war god's presence in the war god temple was not high, his cultivation was unfathomable. No one knew what level he had reached now. If Huang Tai could fight with the white-clothed war god, he would naturally be able to figure out the white-clothed war god's background. Ling Xiao naturally saw through Huang Tai's plan. He bowed to the white-clothed war god and said, "Thank you for your kindness, war god. However, there is no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. I am determined to fight with Elder Huang Tai. Please grant me my wish." "Are you sure?" The white-clothed war god looked at Ling Xiao deeply and said, "I am sure." Ling Xiao nodded solemnly. "He is courting death. I hope Elder Huang Tai can kill him directly." In the distance, Zhan Tianxing's eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. "Tianxing, don't underestimate Long Outyin. He dares to challenge Elder Huang Tai. Either he is crazy, or he really has the confidence to fight with Elder Huang Tai." "Do you think he is crazy?" Lei Qianjue looked at Zhan Tianxing and said slowly. "He is not crazy. But even if he has the flipping sky seal, he can't be Elder Huang Tai's opponent, right? Let alone 3 moves, he will die in 1 move." Zhan Tianxing said with some reluctance. "That's hard to say. This Long Outyin may be arrogant, but he is quite methodical. When have you seen him do something he is not confident of? If he could really fight with Elder Huang Tai, not only would he be able to establish his authority, but he would also be able to use the prestige he gained from this battle and control the flipping sky seal to become the battle hall master. No one would be able to stop him. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone." Lei Qianjue said. "That will have to wait until he can withstand 3 moves from Elder Huang Tai. Elder Huang Tai is no ordinary saint. Perhaps Long Outyin won't even be able to withstand a single blow." The law enforcement Elder Xing Jun sneered. Although he had to admit that Lei Qianjue was right, he still did not want such a thing to happen. "If it's really as I think, then it's not a good thing." Lei Qianjue looked at Ling Xiao from afar with a strange look in his eyes. Rumble. A vast and powerful saint's aura permeated the air. Huang Tai stood in the sky with an indifferent expression. He looked down at Ling Xiao like a dragon looking down at an ant. He had an invincible aura. "Long Outyin, I have to say that I admire your courage. But if you think that you can defeat me with the flipping sky seal, you are wrong. If I kill you by accident, I hope you won't hold it against me." Huang Tai said indifferently. His voice shook the void as if there was a strange force pressing down on Ling Xiao. Buzz. Ling Xiao's body flashed, and the black flipping sky seal spun, exuding a majestic holy aura. It floated above Ling Xiao's head, sprinkling down rays of divine light, which shrouded Ling Xiao's entire body. The saint aura that Huang Tai exuded did not seem to affect Ling Xiao at all. "Let's see if we can fight or not with our fists. Elder Huang Tai, please enlighten me." Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he stared at Huang Tai. Rumble. The sky shook as the flipping sky seal exuded an ancient, thick, and mysterious light. A powerful saint aura filled the air as if it was indestructible and could suppress the heavens. Ling Zhao's blood seemed to be boiling as he stared at Huang Tai in front of him. Every pore on his body opened up. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fight with Huang Tai. It would be immeasurable for Ling Zhao. Moreover, he wasn't being arrogant on purpose. Instead, he had enough confidence in himself. After Thunder Spirit King became the device spirit of the Flipping Sky Seal, he had complete control over the Flipping Sky Seal. He was very clear about the terror of this supreme treasure. In addition, he was in War Mountain, which was his home ground, so it was possible for him to control the Flipping Sky Seal and fight with Huang Tai. "Since you insist, let's leave it to fate," Huang Tai said indifferently. The terrifying saint aura around him grew even more vast. "Rumble! Rumble!" Huang Tai spat out 2 words. Suddenly, the sky shook as a mysterious purple thunderbolt appeared in his palm and pressed down on Ling Zhao. The entire War Mountain was shrouded in endless thunderbolts as the destructive power shrouded the sky. Everyone's faces were pale, and their bodies were trembling. Their eyes were filled with incomparable terror. The power of the Saint Path was too terrifying. Huang Tai had mastered the Thunder Saint Path and condensed the Thunder Dao fruit. He seemed to have become a part of the Thunder Calamity. Every move he made was immeasurable. Rumble! The white-clothed war god's body flashed as he activated the mountain protection array of the War God Hall. It shrouded the entire War God Hall and protected everyone. Only then did everyone feel a little better. However, their eyes were still solemn as they stared at Ling Zhao and Huang Tai in the air. This was the power of a saint. Even if Ling Zhao had the Flipping Sky Seal, would he be able to contend with such power? Everyone's hearts were filled with uncertainty. "Open!" Ling Zhao roared. In an instant, his qi and blood surged to the sky. The Flipping Sky Seal expanded against the wind and directly drew a black mountain in the void. Its momentum was monstrous, and it rushed toward Huang Tai to greet him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.